we had heard earlier the blue farm player isn't playing Nas. We're like, huh, interesting. And then we saw why, because he hardcast Emrakul.
No.
Yeah.
Your solution to this card is honestly brilliant. What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we back here for another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And if you're on Twitch, make sure you follow Ring the Bell. Y'all know I got something really special today. Of course, we are talking about Tiamat, but there's somebody special coming here, notably Caleb, someone who went undefeated at the Topdeck Invitational. And I could talk about all the great blue farm lists and the other lists that are coming around, but y'all know I'm looking forward to talking about my Dragon Queen. But with that said, let's talk to Caleb. What's up, brother?
What's up? Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too, brother, man. It's amazing to see you, Caleb. I'm honestly like, I can't express it enough. My smile is going ear to ear right now from just being able to talk to somebody else who is a Tiamat enthusiast. But can you please tell us something about your background, the reason you played Tiamat, the invitation, and all that other good stuff, brother?
Dude, I am a Dungeons and Dragons player at heart. I mean, you can see I've got picture Tiamat right behind me here, you know, keep her around at all times. Happy to slam dragons into campaigns. And so I always had a soft spot for it, you know, built dragons in casual, but I'm a cEDH player, right? So I was like, all right, can this actually sneak into the competitive format?
Exactly.
And I saw a comedian made a list the other day. It didn't do very well. And I looked at his list and I was like, it's not really how I would build it. And so right there, I was like, well, what if I did build it? So I, you know, pulled the cards together. I already had my Tiamat copy at the ready, got the 5-color good stuff and the birthing pod synergies, and soon enough, Tiamat was born.
I love to hear that. So you have a D&D background. We're also had a little bit of casual experience. Like, how did your Magic the Gathering career go? Like, did it go straight into cEDH, or how was that?
You know, it was a slow journey. Started up around 2020 and COVID, so it was hard to find games around then, I'll tell you what. But we started out with casual pirates, actually. That's what really got me into it. So I was playing Admiral Beckett Brass. But then eventually I was like, oh, Malcolm and Glinthorn, those are pirates that can win the game. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, well, what if Malcolm was in my command zone with Vile Smasher? And so it was a slippery slope into Grixis Pirates. And then I realized, man, I shouldn't be clowning on all these casual players with this. So I got more and more competitive until eventually, you know, started going to events. My first big event takedown was over at the Mana Vault with actually Teamer Pirates instead of Grixis Pirates. Yep. And yeah, eventually another big win on Blue Farm, and the combination of those two wins and a lot of good placements for bronzes or silvers was enough to send me to the Invi.
Amazing. So then we go from playing, okay, I wouldn't say off meta, but Teamer Pirates, not the top of the meta, but you made it work. Then you said, hey, let's just try the meta out. We got some blue farm in there, did our thing, won some events, won some games, did our thing. How the heck did we get from I'm trying to play more towards the meta to no, forget y'all. Where did Dragon Queen at? Like, how do we come to that epiphany, brother?
Well, so I mean, I really liked the birthing pod style effects, Eldritch Evolution, Neoform, birthing pod. I really like those, and I saw a lot of that in Teamer Pirates, sending Glinthorn Buccaneer into play. I love dragons. I love the flavor of it, and I was just trying to think, you know, are there ways to slice through the meta? Because blue farms are going to be everywhere. I think at the Invi it was something like 30%. You know, if you're seeing a third of the field out there as blue farm, it's like, all right, well, what are blue farms geared to do, right? They're geared to be able to, you know, either push, you know, early wins or grind out the game. And in terms of their fighting capabilities, it's really on the stack, fighting back against instant sorceries so that they can preserve their own stuff or stop other people's lines. 100%. But they're not incredibly slanted to stop creature-based lines, especially if it's all the way from, you know, the first card through to the last card. So that's something I think Tiamat offers that most decks don't.
100%. I love the way you angled that perspective for the game, especially leveraging your previous experience on Teamer Pirates and the birthing pods. Like, the minute you said that, I was like, man, it's clear that his perspective on the game is completely different from mine, and honestly, that makes me more and more look forward to just diving more into your deck. But before we do, we have to let the people know what Tiamat does. So if you can just give this a commander a read real quick.
Happy to. Yep, Tiamat is a dragon that costs Wooburg and 2 generic. It's a legendary creature, Dragon God, with flying, and it's 7/7. And of course, when it ETBs, if you've cast it, search your library for 5 dragon cards with different names, and reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle. So it is a quintuple tutor, which is quite impressive.
Exactly. Who knew Sis saying that one activation at the time? Let's just get them all in our hand right now. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, with that said, I want to get straight into the deck archetype and all that. But before I do, if you all are looking for some community action, I want to tell you all an amazing place to start is the TC community. It is a free to join Discord community where we jam games, talk about spoilers, and brew amazing meta buster lists like Tiamat. So if you're looking for a home to play cEDH at, check the TC community link out in the bio. But with that said, come on, brother. Starting at the top, can you please tell me about the deck archetype? Are we pure turbo? We trying to stack some out? We a little bit of hybrid control? Talk to me.
Yes,
brother.
sir. I'll let you know. We are not Stax. We are not control. You can tell by the interaction side we're not in that realm. I really want this to be a turbo deck. Yes. So as fast as possible, I am trying to ramp up hard on mana, get Academy Rector out, sacrifice it, get Dracogenesis into play, and send Tiamat and the Dragons out to do their combo. And if it's not Rector, then it's pushing an early food chain. You know, it's as simple as get out a creature tutor like Recruiter of the Guard, stack it with food chain after you've gotten Squee to hand, and then you've got red mana, send Squee out, infinite mana, headed right into Tiamat.
Exactly. Nice, clean, and simple. Get the job done. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. So like you brought up the Dracogenesis, we got the food chain, which I want to hear more about that, like turbo into that. And I saw from your creature base, I'm like, hold on. This guy's thinking like the way you molded your like interaction package within your creatures, like all of that. Very, very, and I love also just the fact that you decided to go turbo. Like I've been telling people a lot recently, like honestly for months now, like even before like this pre-turbo renaissance has been creeping up back on us in the meta. I'm like, y'all, like right now, people are too mid-range pilled, and I don't think it's because it's the best thing to do in the meta. I feel like it's easy to try to smack a turn 2 Ristic and just clone it and clone it and clone it. But the problem is if you tap out for that turn 2 Ristic, like you open up this gaping window for all the turbo decks to try to win under, and that forces.
Yeah, you're looking at it like, where are your blue pips? I don't see them.
Exactly. And so where like you say, well, you could have Pact Negation or Force of Will or Mind Break Trap. Like I got you, but we got to make you have it. And that's not, of course, like, and that's not to say mid-range is bad. Like, there's a reason that the most popular deck, the most powerful deck in our format is Blue Farm, and that namely being a mid-range deck. But even Blue Farm has the possibility, whether it be with Necropotence or Ad Nauseam in some lists, to go fast. So it's clear as day that that turbo archetype is something real, and the fact that you honed onto that is really powerful. So my next question, honestly, is for you, like, what is your strategy and game plan in this turbo Tiamat brew from your mulligan to your winning turn?
Yeah, so right away, I'm instantly looking for mana acceleration. So if I don't see any in my hand and it's looking slow, the reality is I'm going to lose to those decks that are more grindy, something like a Blue Farm, something like a Thrasios, right? Because they're going to set up, and as I'm being slow, they're being slow, but also getting a lot more cards than I am. So in the end, they're going to win. So I'm really looking for that early acceleration, get Dorks out, get Rocks out, especially because things like mana dorks, they aren't just sources of mana. In my deck, they're also things I can sacrifice to Birthing Pod, things I can sacrifice to, you know, Diabolic Intent, things that can really advance my game plan more than just the mana that they produce. And then, you know, sometimes I'm looking to get a value piece if I'm on a lower mulligan. So if things are looking rough and the turbo plan just isn't working because it's not showing up in my hand, it's okay to go into that like turn 2 Ristic, turn 1 Esper, that style, because the reality is some of the games are going to go long enough where I can just land a silence creature, send down that Abolisher, and I can still push through despite having lower cards than the rest of the table, more likely than not.
100%. I agree with that 100%, man. So we're mulliganing. It sounds like we're looking for a game plan. Of course, we want to go turbo, but it's not the end of the world. Smack a turn 1 Esper. We can still convert that into something.
But in terms of turbo, it's really like, how am I getting into Academy Rector and how am I getting into way to sacrifice it, right? So in terms of the sack outlets, the big ones for me are Lazotep Quarry, which is a land that's super awesome. And then the other one is Viscera Seer. Good old one
Yes.
drop, which is really relevant when you consider something like Ranger Captain of Eos being able to tutor it, which is pretty sick.
Yes.
And then for Rector, I just have a million and one ways to tutor that thing
Yeah.
into my hand or onto the field.
No, 100%. It's funny. So when I started brewing Tiamat, I like Draco Genesis was the sell card for me. Like when I really looked at it, I think it
Yeah.
was some like it was a casual brewer, and they just like started like talking about, you just cast Draco Genesis, get all the dragons, then you cast all the dragons for free. I'm like, hold on a minute.
It's hot.
Like that's kind of hot. And the
Yep.
first thing I was thinking about as well is the Academy Rector. And what for me, I decided to get off of it because I was like, man, I don't know if I really want to dedicate the list to so many sack outlets. But what I feel where I stepped away for it, where you were able to lean into it because of your background with the Teamer pilots, because you're bringing up a Visir Seal, that's a Ranger Captain tutor target. You got the Birthing Pod, you have the Fiend Artisan. Like, we're going to talk more about all these, but it really seems like I believe I counted them. We have 8 sack effects in this list.
Something like that, and some of them are really innocuous. You know, something like Neoform, Calling the Weak, things you're like, oh, maybe these get you into Academy Rector. Well, yes, but also if you have the Rector, you just put the spell on the stack, and the Rector gets sacked, and as a part of the spell.
Exactly, and it's over at that point. These sack as an additional cost spells are really powerful. It allows you to just play around counter magic, because that was one thing I was finding, like, if you are trying to remove your Academy Rector with like a removal spell, now we're having a fight over whether I get what I want. But if you just sack it as an additional cost, like, there is no conversation. You better have that removal spell for the Draco Genesis or the Dream Halls or whatever not.
I remember, I've had my Diabolic Intent on the stack, and they're like, do we counter this? It's already too late. The Rector is down there.
They literally sit there like, what do we do now? Like, I hope y'all got a Chain of Vapor. like
Yeah.
Exactly. Lou's like, I hope y'all got a both Sage or a Chain of Vapor or something and remove the target, like, because it's over right now, because I'm casting creatures from this point forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. Well, I'm really hearing a lot of strengths with the list, and if you want to touch on more of those, I'd love to hear them. But could you just tell me overall, what are the main strengths and weaknesses to your specific Tiamat brew?
Yeah, so biggest strength I kind of hinted at earlier, it's really about the difficulty of interaction, right? Because you can run lines that only involve creatures. Say I land Rector, I have a last step quarry, I sack it, it gets Draco Genesis into play, Tiamat hits, I get my 5 dragons, I can start out with Dramoka, get the Silence Dragon out, and then from there, use the combo Tear the Peaks, Bladewing the Risen, Mort the Frost to start a graveyard loop that ends my opponents with no non-creature spells ever hitting the stack. So that's a huge strength when people are sitting on their Force Negations, their Fluster Storms, their Dispels, just anything that isn't going to be relevant to my game plan. So that's what I would say for biggest strengths. Another strength that I would note, because it's a little interesting, is if you have 1-drops on your field, you can pod into Grand Abolishers. And so that can be really huge, where they're like, I have this Pact of Negation, how do I counter? You don't. The Grand Abolisher from my the Birthing Pod effect is just going to put it into play. So good luck. So that's another fun point of the deck. And then I would say weakness-wise, you hinted at it, Beseiju and Chain of Vapor, the banes of my existence right there. If they have those at the right time, it can really mess you up. But that's why I say, if you look over into my creatures, I would say I've done Spellskite before.
Yep.
I've tried out some there it is in the silence effects. Funny place to put it, but it's true in terms of how it functions. I've also tried some effects to give Enchantment Shroud, which those have gone in and out of the deck. So that's kind of been some, notable exclusions.
Yes.
So that's been cool. But yeah, that's really that critical point. Draco Genesis is on field, and do they have a way to make it go away?
That's the ride right there. No, that's really critical, especially in a meta now where I couldn't say whether we're on more spot removal or not, because right now it really depends more on the local meta that you're playing in, whether you're playing more spot removal or not. But I think in general, if you were to look at cEDH as a whole, we are more of on like interacting on the stack. I can speak for myself.
I think we're low on removal right now.
Now, I agree with that. It's like I've been finding like a little bit like in my local, like I'm shout out to the KC local crew, where like that more of Stax players out here, where we got Rock to Vesh or what was it, Shorakai and all these other players. And so these guys are ready for like, oh, so I'm going to remove whatever you got on board. But when I'm playing online and you have a general meta with around the entire world, overseas, Germany and everything, you land that Draco Genesis, I'm going to be honest, they don't have it most times, especially when you push at that turn 2 to 3 window. It's nasty, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell you how things went this past Friday. So I was at locals for we have bronze events that fire every Friday at Hot Sauce Games in the Chicago suburbs, and we've got a bunch of killers out there. We've usually got 4 or 5 Invi folks that frequent that spot, which is really sweet. And you know, we have 3 rounds of Swiss and then cut to top 4. And in my Swiss, it was win-win draw. And both of those wins were turn 3 food chain wins. Ooh. So it's just like jamming it quick. They don't have the bounce spell for food chain. Goodbye. So
I ain't mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at you.
Yep.
Look, that's amazing. Well, speaking about tournaments, you know which tournament we're here to talk about, man. The Topdeck Invitational, man. Can you just please give us the play-by-play from when you first walked in the tournament to when you were able to almost so close to make the top.
Make that cut.
No, I'm talking about 17th place. I was like, yo.
It was 1.5% on tiebreakers that knocked me out of there. So
oh my gosh, I saw that and I was like, it's okay. This is a reason we're gonna fight to get him back into the Topdeck Invitation again next year. Come on.
Yep. And I'm ready for the grind for over the next year. It'll be fun.
100%.
But yeah, you know, get in there. I'm at an Airbnb with some buddies, including 2 other people that qualified. Shout out to Joe Stacco. Shout out to Jason, my man that's usually on Tameshi. Some good solid dudes. And yeah, so we stroll up. Obviously are connecting with some people we've seen at big events before, so it's always fun to reconnect with the peeps. A lot of good people up there in the top of the competition. And Gold Saber hooked us up with those invitational playmats. I'll be playing on it. You'll see me later when we get to the gameplay situation. You'll see me on the mat. So that's sick. And then it was cool. It was in a, you know, cornered off area so that we were able to kind of have our own thing going. And then once the round started, I mean, it was just the best of the best duking it out. Everyone was very responsible, knowing exactly what their decks do and what everyone else's do, except for mine.
I was about to ask. I was like, wait, they do it too? That did what?
Only my local folks. But yeah, so it was just the height of competition. You love being there. Every game is like a top 16 or a top 4 game. You know, like in Swiss. You see some people that are newer to the format in big events, which is totally fine, but it allows you to exploit their weaknesses and push some wins. In the Invitational, it was not like that. And you're going to see it with the draw rate throughout the tournament. An insane amount of draws went down, and that's just because people know exactly how and when to interact in any given situation.
Man, that is so real. Like, that is a thing where I always have mixed feelings in those type of wins, especially when I'm like playing one of my off meta brews or meta buster brews. If I'm really able to push it to that level, it's like I'm glad that I have the win, but at the same time, how can I fix my deck even despite of the fact if my opponents know what I'm doing? Like an example of this is I got to give a shout to one of the TC Discord members, ISO. And it was like early in my Tiamat brew, and he's playing Tim the Thras, and he's doing like killer Tim the Thras. Kicked our tails 2 times in a row, and I'm pushing for my win and whatever. No, this was game 2, and he like won game 1, and we're like, I think I can get there game 2 early in the brew, first 5 games. And I relaying a Dragon Storm, everything's going good. And he just hits me with a Talon Gates of Madara. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, out of nowhere. I'm talking about like not ready. And he did it at the perfect timing too, where the Brood Lord ETB was on the stack from the Dragon Storm. So even no matter what I find, I can't convoke cast it. And I've already used Treasonous Ogre to help cast it. So I'm sitting there like, dude. And so in addition to realizing, hey, I should have just increased the storm, even if it put me like within mind break range, I realized that I need ways to interact with abilities. And so for me, it's this situation where like I start winning a lot, and my homeboys were like, well, T, you're winning a lot. Why are you still tweaking the list so much? I'm like, I need instant speed ways to interact with these channel abilities. And the answer I decided was Untimely Malfunction, because Deflecting Swat's just not an option. You know what I'm saying? It's
No.
respectfully, like it's surprising. Like I know 2-mana interaction is like that, like no zone, like oh mana drains, like no, none of that. But it's
dude,
just,
are you excited for Redirect Lightning coming up?
dude,
Ooh.
I'm okay.
It's heat.
Look, Rick, hold on. So pause on the tournament for just half a second. I'm not gonna lie, I would like push back on this. I have it sitting in my sideboard right now. And right now, I'm on Treasonous Ogre and Necropotence. And
whoa.
It's like I don't need my life total every game, but one of like the safety guards of my list is being able to go, and it's a lot of my games where I'm just like, all right, when the worst universe, I cast an Invoke Calamity, Dracogenesis, or Dragonstorm with the Treasonous Ogre, or I push out a Necro on turn 1 to turn 2. I'm pushing turn 2 to turn 3. I have mana for days. I can cast it. I can hard cast this Untimely Malfunction. But if I'm using Redirect Lightning, that I go down to 5 life. So I have to pay 3 mana versus 2. So right now in my head, I'm gonna be fully transparent. It's still sitting in my sideboard, and I'm kind of like not for right now, but I'm kind of spot where it's just the 1 mana 5 life is just objectively good. Like
it's good, yeah. Especially because, like, for me, I'm not on Troger, I'm not on Necro. I will let people beat on my life total all day because it doesn't matter. Happy to pay 5 life to redirect something away from my, Dracogenesis.
No, literally, because I mean, honestly, the only bit like I'll give this the Untimely Malfunction. It can get rid of artifacts if you put a Gravedigger's Cage on board. I can get rid of it. Yay. But it's kind of weird. That's never come up. No matter what Stax decks I'm going against, I'm never using that mode. I'm only using it for the redirection effect at instant speed. And do you think that this may be a swap out for your Spellskite, like taking Spellskite out for the redirect lightning?
I don't think so. Just because being able to pod into Spellskite or out of Spellskite, it just matters too much for me. Also, the colorless mana is huge because sometimes your fixing is just like a little slanted, so you need to take advantage of it, generic, just sending that down. So I feel like it stays in, but I very well might find another slot for the Redirect Lightning.
100%. And that was a really good point you brought up about color fixing, because I don't think people understand how difficult it is to to mulligan a 5-color deck with no commander advantage. Like you are not touching your commander zone for anything. Literally, like everything has to be within the mulligan, literally.
And I don't know fully about your build, but my build is actually slanted in an interesting direction where, like, I don't have a Badlands in my list. I don't have a Volcanic Island in my list because I'm really focused more toward the Asban side of things. So the green, the white, and the black. So that tends to be where I go with my tutors. And it's shaped my land base as well.
I can't wait to talk about the notable inclusion, the exclusions, because I noticed that, like, when I saw the Volk, I was like, Volk? No Volk? And it wasn't to criticize. It was like more like, what is he doing that, like, because Volk and Underground Sea are the most popular, like, fetch targets. So I was really interested to, like, say, like, what was his thought process, and hearing things now just like, I don't need the colors as much. Like, I'm not trying to hold open a blue, or like for a piece of counter magic, or not even a Badlands is understandable. So yeah, good talk on redirect.
So should we get back to Invi then?
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone, side note, everyone stay tuned. We'll talk more about notable exclusions and inclusions as well. Keep an eye on his list so we can see which swap out is for redirect lightning with the avatar set. But talk to me. Invitational, brother.
Yeah. So round 1, starting out with just what I expected. We're headed against 3 blue farms. So I'm out there in 3rd seat, like, yep, no, we're out here. This could have been a 4 blue farm pod if I had brought the list I was theoretically supposed to be bringing, but I chose something much cooler, and so we out here. But yeah, so basically a lot of card draw at the beginning from the blue farm players, as you might expect. They're sitting on Mystic, sitting on Esper, and then turn 3, that's really the window that I'm looking to push, is turn 3. And I've got Rector out, sack it to Laztep Quarry, Dracogenesis slams down on the table, Tiamat comes out onto the stack, and then there's a Mindbreak trap. But I'm like, it's fine, because I have enough mana left over. Tiamat again. But wait, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as you can imagine with the Invitational. They know their interaction points, right? So another blue farm player, the only one with any resources left, Demonic Consultation. If he uses it for a bounce spell,
Oh.
then he can blow me out. But we talk about the situation at the table, and if he uses it, the last piece of interaction at the table, we completely lose to the next person in turn order. So as many games as you continue to see go here, this game ends up with a draw with my Tiamat floating there on the stack.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm fine with it. Early draws are cool. They're good for points. They're good for breakers.
100%.
So that's what we were seeing in round one there.
Man, that's good. And it's kind of tough because it's kind of like, man, I'm really thinking in my head, like, was there any way you can scope this to win? But it's the truth going back to like, hey, when you're playing against skilled pilots, they're not going to make little soft mistakes. Like, no one was going to let you get that Tiamat back in the stack without a way to remove the Draco Genesis. So, yeah, man. So, yeah, we fought in round one. We pushed in round one. Almost got there.
Yeah,
we persevered.
You will see pushing as a trend. I will continue to in most of these rounds. But yeah, so headed to round two, and looking at the pod, it is a wild pod. It is Thrash to Vesh, myself on Tiamat, then it's Magda, and then it's Dahada. So we found like a ton of one-ofs from the Invitational. I think Magda might have been the only one with more includes. I think they might have had like 3 or 4 entries, something like that. Right. But like in the field of blue farms, we had found Fringe, and we had found it together. So it was kind of fun to see this table come down. But basically, I was ramping early, as my deck does. Thrash to Vesh pushes Devoted Druid combo to try and get Hazel's Brewmaster to eat it out of the graveyard.
Okay.
But we managed to stop it with Dahada coming in clutch with an Orm's Chant.
Yes.
And then there is further backbreaking of that player from an opposition agent that lands from the Dahada player right after. Now the problem is that also breaks my back because as you can see on this card, it tutors 5 times. So you know, so Magda and myself were both crying with our commanders that tutor, and eventually it gets to a state where the Thrash to Vesh player has Rhystic Study down, win in hand, and Dahada is pushing a breach line, and Magda is the only player that can stop them. So, but if they did, it's like, all right, you know, Thrash to Vesh taking the win. So once again, a push is happening actively. Only one player has the interaction, but if they interact, we lose to the next player in turn order.
100%.
So it goes to a draw.
Man. All right, man. It's like you are like, I don't, you know, you're edging me to eternities. I'm gonna just say it like that. Like I swear, like I'm getting so hyped with these stories. I'm like, man, like what happens next? What happens next is like, and then everyone realizes everyone realizes like, hey, we all know what the fuck we're doing. If we play this cleanly, no one is gonna win. All we're gonna do is king make. Yeah. But we keep persevering. On to the next game. Keep talking.
We keep persevering. Yeah. And I just want to say, like, this is a lot like chess at the highest level. If you've ever watched that or heard of that story, it's like you're going to see a lot of draws that happen, you know, the offering of the hand because you get to a, you know, stalemate situation. And, you know, that happens in cEDH right now, and that's okay. Yeah. The format could very possibly change. You know, there are people always talking about how to resolve things like the turn order disparity or the draw problem. So we'll have to see. But in its current state at the top level, draws happen all the time.
100%. So, yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah. Round 3, you know, getting a little bit tired of draws, but this game was definitely interesting. So it's TNT, Kinnan, Blue Farm, and then I'm sitting in last seat. So I'm like, all right, I'm not in the best spot in this game. The last seat win rate is super bad right now, but we're going to play. We're going to see what we can do.
100%.
So I had Voice of Victory and Academy Rector with win in hand. But then the Blue Farm does something rather unexpected. We had heard earlier the Blue Farm player isn't playing Nas. We're like, huh, interesting. And then we saw why, because he hardcast Emrakul.
No.
Yeah. So that was kind of spicy. And
we're
clearly,
talking...
who did he choose? The best deck at the table to Emrakul. We're talking about Mind Control Emrakul is what we're talking about.
Oh my gosh. If I remember, this is the 13 mana run, correct?
Yep. That's the one.
Now. If you all are not familiar with Emrakul, Emrakul is a 13 mana cost Emrakul, but the spell costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard, and it specifically says when you cast this spell, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. Notably has flying, trample, protection from instants. Cool. The point is, you cast it, you gain control of somebody, and just it's over. Like, please continue. Oh my gosh.
So he looked at the table. He's like, oh, Tiamat's got a silence creature. He's got Academy Rector.
No,
this is clearly the player position to win the game. So he mind controls me, which I was honored. I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Right. Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is he can take all the actions that he wants, but he can't stop me from talking to my opponents. So I let them know, hey guys, the key interaction point is when the Dracogenesis is on the field.
No, you're actually telling them hey, like,
and I was like, hey,
deck.
I was gonna say, hey, can I see your pieces of interaction? They were like showing me what's going on, and one of the players, well, he had a Beseju. So we ended up getting in a situation where this blue farm player that had mind controlled me was not able to push my win because of the Beseju, but it ended up going to a draw because that blue farm player still had a lot of resource at the table, and basically it was another situation. Went on stack, one piece of interaction, ends up in a draw. But it was really fun to be like, oh, I was chosen for the mind control, and now I can anti-mind control by talking to my opponents?
No, man, your solution to this card is honestly brilliant. It is hilarious. Like, it's funny. It's like, honestly, like, it just seems like one of those games which is like in like a dream. It's just like, when does this ever happen? They have the exact Boseiju, but this is an awesome lesson for the people. It's like, hey, there are metas. Like, I believe, shout out to Path of Exile Discord community. If y'all ever here, shout out to y'all. They were the first community I see really championing this, like multiple players. Like, it was just known, like it was part of their meta. And it really was like a thing where people, you cast it, most people like, damn, yeah, we lost. It's over. They got 13 plus cards in hand. But very seldomly do people leverage the politics of the game to say, hey, I can tell you exactly how to interact with this combo. I know this deck better than anybody else. We're at the highest level. We're not ignorant here. So here's how you beat my deck. Oh, slow down, interact here. And then using your words to like nullify the strength of this card was brilliant. So I have to give you flowers there, brother. Very intelligent move.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then next round 4, it was myself in first seat, so I was feeling pretty good. Then it was Kinnan, Blue Farm, and Rogsai, so some very representative decks. But they mulled extremely low. I'm talking like 5, 4, 3 or something like that. I think Rogsai was the one on 3. And what ended up happening that was really unfortunate is the Kinnan player that was in second seat, he really wanted the draw. He was at 11 points at this point, so he just needed some draws to push him into that top cut. And unfortunately, that meant he didn't develop his own game plan to push toward a win, but instead to push toward a draw. And so he established all of his mana really early. Then he put down a Fairy Mastermind, and then he was basically just like, anytime you push, I'm gonna make the table draw 4 cards. And that was really tough because my cards are to push the win, and other people's cards tend to have more interaction, especially like the Blue Farm player, for example.
100%.
And lo and behold, the Rogsai player also kept Fierce Guardianship and Necropotence, and then it's escaping my mind, the 4 mana kill spell in black that's actually free if you're a commander. Deadly Rollick. Yes. And Deadly Rollick. So he kept 2 pieces of interaction in a Necro as a Rogsai, which you can never expect. And so I pushed, I think, turn 2 and turn 3, both times getting stopped. And so it just ended up being like, I'm not going to escape this game. If it's a 3v1 and the table's slanted against me with interaction, it is what it is. So I had to accept the draw there. That was probably my most frustrating game because I felt like it wasn't a normal game. And so that is the downside sometimes of the draw situation, where if a player needs it to go toward breakers and it's not a natural result of the interaction situation, it can become rather annoying.
No, 100%. I'm sorry you had that experience, brother. Like, for other people who have to navigate those situations, like you having had that experience, do you have any advice that you can give pilots who are really looking to whether take Tiamat or their own Meta Buster brew to a tournament, and they have to navigate those like, hey, I'm just trying to play for a draw where they're not getting, as you said, a real game? After reflecting on it, any advice you can give?
Yeah, I think so. In normal situations where everyone is progressing their game plan and being a little bit greedier, then the strategy of just pushing tends to slice through better. But in a situation like this, where they were being very cognizant and intentionally trying to interact with me, I think the answer was just go toward your silence effect. Go toward your Abolisher, your Ranger Captain, before you go for your win. Because sometimes the minimally protected wins are turboed out enough or clean enough where you can still push through. But if you've got all the table against you, then you need to find something that allows you to break parity and sneak through your win. And I think just Abolisher is the king.
100%. Yes. No, shout out to the TC Discord. My guy Detro, part of the TC Vanguard, literally just posted that in the chat about how right now we're seeing a really high influx of Voice of Victory includes. And it's a great card. Amazing sound.
Amazing.
Effect. Especially in 5-color lists where, like, I'll speak for myself. I don't run Grand Abolisher in my list because that double white is really hard to do for my personal turbo wins. But I can push out a Treasonous Ogre and then put out Evolve. And if they try to stop me, I'm just going to float all the red mana I need, then push into my Draco Genesis. I can navigate that very easily. However, despite of that, the Grand Abolisher still is king, being able to stop everything except channel abilities, namely coming from you floating your mana from your lands. And honestly, like, I think that piece of advice is really, really sound, where it's just like, hey, once I recognize somebody's playing for draw, I need to be able to have that, can I land the Grand Abolisher, especially in your pod variant, where you just say like, hey, I just need to just sack this Deathrite Shaman, get into the Grand Abolisher, and then after that it's just clean, you know, and that's where you can leverage those those high-level politics, going back to the earlier point, to be able to get there as well. Yeah, I really, really resonate. Awesome advice.
And honestly, maybe sneak a D-grid in there. I heard some rumbles over in your Discord about it. I'm like, okay.
So I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want to take us off topic. I recently re-added Defense Grid back to my list after getting off of it. And the last 2 games I've played, it has came up, and I put it in. It's helped me protect a win. Like in like a lot of the online metas, just metas in general, I play like in my local meta, more control, Staxy. So you're not like I have never been mana drained so often on turn 2.
Ooh, mana drain. Ouch.
I'm talking about, like, it's to the point when I first got hit by it, I was like, all right, he had 2 blue mana up. I should have seen that coming. But I'm like, who plays mana drain? I'm thinking online meta, like the entire world. No one's playing mana drain anymore.
It's like basically just the Kinnan players, and that's it.
Right. I'm like, no complaint. All right, whatever. The next time was when I put a Dream Halls down, 0 protection. I'm like, turn 2 Dream Halls. I'm making y'all have it. And I turned on his mana drain.
Sir.
I'm like, what the? I was like, you're with me.
Oh, no.
And so that the first switch out I did is I added in days, because I noticed that I just needed a little bit more interaction. I referenced Roxai list. On average, they're running about 13 pieces of stack interaction. I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get closer to that number. No, I can't run all the good ones like Fierce and Deflecting Spot, but there's other free ones that I can incorporate, like days that are border for protecting. But then recently, I've been having so many mid-range games because, shout out once again to the TC Discord, these guys are getting so good. Like, and we're having even greater pilots join the community. There's so many more games that are ending in draws, and it's because, like, I'm not able to solidify that silence effect on the board in the late game.
Right.
And so being able to, like, just smack that D grid down. The first game that it came up handy was since a player tries to exile my graveyard, I go to Noxious Revival to put a Voice of Victory on top of my library. The Najila player goes, all right, I'm going to Swan Song your Noxious Revival, so at least there's another opportunity to interact with me. And I say, okay, cool. That was just me trying to bait. I go to my turn, drop the D-grid, and start pushing off my combo. And I get the same exact effect.
Yep.
Like that, having that double silence effect as an option has been really, like, powerful. And notably, I love Dragon Lord Jamoka, but the 6 mana can sometimes make it really difficult to land it and then go into a win sometimes, unless I have like a Rain of Filth or something along that line.
Yeah.
But no, Defense Grid is, I love that one. 2 mana, pay 6 life with Treasonous Ogre. What are we talking about? So for me, yeah, I love that. Keep talking though. We're not talking about my list. We talking about your list.
Yeah, we're
brother.
talking about Invi.
Yeah.
So okay, round 5, Sisse, Blue Farm, myself, and Blue Farm again.
Yeah.
And it was just a grind fest. I mean, just Ristics and the Sisse player was establishing their board state well. We were working as a team to remove it so they couldn't push their win.
Gotcha.
And it was just a very, very responsible, very high-level play game. Ended up actually going all the way to time on this one.
Ooh.
So the hard cap, 20 minutes, and it, went to time, hit draw. So I am 5 rounds of draws. So 005.
Man.
So... Yeah, it's just a crazy game. Everyone was being responsible. No one was pushing through the interaction, so it happens.
Yeah. I love playing high level games, so I'll take that. I'll let it slide. We went to time at least. That was the draw. I'll let it slide. But
yeah, kind of a boring one. And then round 6 was where I was kind of like, it'd be really funny to claim undefeated, even if it's like all draws. And so round 6, we've got TNT, Blue Farm, myself, and Blue Farm again. Okay. Once again, it's Ristics and draw engines galore, but this time there's Bowmaster that's down, mowing down creatures. Eventually... there's a Final Fortune jam where we lose a player. They die on Final Fortune turn. And then I end up jamming, and Jace, shout out to Jace. He's just a teenager that has gone all the way to the Invitational. So shooting up in the scene, playing Blue Farm recently. But he was dropped a Flood Caller on top of my win. So I was pushing at time and round. And turns out I actually had just enough interaction to stop him. I was able to get rid of his Lion's Eye Diamond, which stifles his mana. I had one more piece. I think it might have been a mental misstep, but ended up somehow sneaking with my very tiny amount of interaction, just enough to stop Blue Farm from winning over the top of me. So with that said, the round did end up going to draw, as my win on stack was foiled because I had to fight and use the mana I was going to allocate to other things to defeat Blue Farm. So
man, that's still a heck of a game. I'm not gonna lie, like
heck of a game.
I'm not gonna lie, because like this is no shade intended. Like your interaction package is small, but then I was like, he still like is getting these draws across. So how is he getting it done? It's still good to see that with it. I won't even call it small. With the intentional amount of interaction you've chosen to run, it's really cool to see that it's still viable to be able to stop people in worse, like crack glass. All right, I don't want to lose the game. Flusterstorm.
Yeah, like a big thing about my interaction is I'm not going to use it unless it is the absolute end times. If it is defending my win or the very last chance, 100%. To the point where if someone is in first seat and they slam down a Naz and I'm in second seat and I have that Flusterstorm, pass priority.
Yes, I hear
Just let
that.
it ride. Yeah, gotta save that for my defense. And so I'm going to hold on to that interaction until the very last minute. So even though I don't have much, I probably have it at that critical point at the very end if I do.
No, 100%. And I want to add on first, I love that you bring up this, like being patient. I tell people all the time, it's 3 Ps, the great grade at cEDH. It's your patience, your politics, and your prowess. And when you do tournaments, your perseverance as well. Because, like, I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of people with so many draws. They're like, man, I'm clocking out. I'm never going to get there. But you got to keep being perseverant, even especially with the long day. Like, we all love cEDH, but sometimes you can be in that room 8, 10, 12 plus more even hours. And that's across the entire event, not even including longer finals events. But with all that being said, I think a really thing to add on to what you said is just to bring like, hey, please don't just be conscious about when you take this play. You need a high level of prowess and understanding of the perfect point to interact. Because for a lot of players who are still learning the format and learning different decks, it is the right move. Like, hey, you got extra interaction, just go ahead and hit the Naz. But if you're intentionally running less interaction, you need to make sure, okay, I need to be smart. What is that critical spell that says no more? Like if I'm going against a breach deck, do I want to go ahead and hit with a Flusterstorm in hand? I'm going to wait till they hit the Demonic Tutor because they've already got their Storm up. I can blow them out completely, but that Demonic Tutor can bleed into a breach line or whatever not. Like if I'm going against a Kinnan deck, like let me I can wait to use, granted, we're not on force negation. I can wait to use my force negation here. I don't have to use it earlier on the tutor or whatever not. Like,
I mean, a big part of that is table reading. Like, figure out how
Yes.
many resources people have in terms of cards, in terms of mana, in
Yes.
terms of the style of deck that they're using, and you can pretty accurately understand what the interaction looks like at a table. Obviously, it's never going to be perfect, but oftentimes, if it gets that last player, there might be a way to reset priority.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it becomes a less of an issue.
No, 100%. And so, in addition to resetting priority, if you could just talk about that, like, what are some strategies you use to be able to lean on as much patience as possible when you're holding onto your interaction?
I think one of the biggest things is to understand that there are decks that are made to fight on the stack, and Tiamat is not one of them. And the other, if you make that clear to the other players, then they're gonna play in a way that keeps the stack more stabilized throughout the game, which I am perfectly fine and content with, because I'm gonna try going low to the ground with creatures in a package that they are not going to be able to interact with in the same way.
I think that's where your entire brew really like centers at the apex of its strength, because you leaned heavier on creatures. It's like, not only I'm not running the interaction package, but you can break parity on the fact that you're not running the amount of interaction by running creatures. And just, of course, if they got a risk study, just pay for it. But outside of that risk study, you're not really worried about feeding people into a win. Man, that's beautiful. I love that.
Totally.
Man. Yeah, can you just keep going for we have one more
round,
well,
I was just gonna say, so you were talking about perseverance, and it's right here. I'm sitting at 006, headed into round 7, but I'm in first seat. So it's me, Blue Farm, Rogthras, and Tim Nadargo going into this last round here. So the game progresses as I want to. I get some early ramp. I get a birthing pod. I'm able to sack into Academy Rector and have it on the field with my tap birthing pod right next to it. Now, unfortunately, I have to pass turn, which is precarious, but I also know we're in a pretty low removal format here. Right? So I pass turn, and then here's where the problem comes. The Blue Farm player puts a Tainted Pact on the stack, and they have a Cavern of Souls on Merfolk, and presumably, as all the table can guess, a Thassa's Oracle in hand. So this is a point of no return here. So the Rogthras player is the only player that has anything left. Yes. They're able to flare the Tainted Pact to get an interaction piece to counter the Tainted Pact.
Yes.
Now, it's here that draw is offered, but the table is at a point where a draw doesn't really do anything for anyone. So draw is not accepted. And then the Rogthras player says, all right, I'm gonna counter this spell contingent on the fact that you're not able to take any game actions on your turn talking to me. So this is an interesting point, because I'm like stunted with a gun to my head.
Right.
So I do end up agreeing, because it's my last option.
Yes.
And the Tainted Pact gets countered. Rogthras does pretty much nothing on their turn, and then it gets to Tim Nadargo, and they at this point have been sitting on an Esper Sentinel, getting a ton of draws. They have a ton of mana on board, and they finish after accelerating their mana and their engines more with a Voice of Victory at the end of their turn. So it gets passed to me, and I'm looking at my field, and I have win right here in front of me. And so I think for a long time, and I look over at the Rogthras player who I had made this deal with, and he says, I couldn't blame you if you pushed here. And so I felt like my collar was being dropped there. So I ended up sacrificing Rector, getting Dracogenesis, running the line, and getting the win. And this was tough, because obviously there was a politics point. There was a deal that was made, and I talked to the Rogthras player, talked to the Blue Farm player. They agreed. We were at a point where it was win it in, and we were in a situation where we would lose to Tim Nadargo. So it was a point of I could choose to take my fate into my own hands and push win there, or take loss at the end of the day. So ended up taking the win there. I wish it was cleaner, but it was, yeah, it was a situation. It was high stress, and ended up, working with the Rogthras player, and took that as my go ahead and pushed the line.
100%. Yeah, I definitely hear that, and I think it definitely like there's always that feel bad moment of like, hey, I made a deal, but and if I can just add on, like that is one of the things about TDH where you got to be cognizant about. It's in this situation, you got the green flag, like, hey, bro, you got to do what you got to do. You have zero options now. You got to do what you have to do. But it's one thing that I tell people, like, hey, like you got to be cognizant. If you play TDH, yeah, in the cEDH game, people like are more willing to hold on to their deals, but in a TDH game, you have to be like cognizant that people will just turn on their deals, and you have to be cognizant of that. You know what I'm saying? Period. And so,
yeah,
I think
I've had it happen to me at varying levels in tournaments. Especially, you're going to see it when you're really at that cutthroat win it in, where the difference is if you uphold the deal, then you are out and lose money, or if you don't, you break the deal, it could mean, in this situation, $500.
Right. And so then my question for you is, do you think there was any alternative options, whether it be for the initial deal that was made before going into this winning turn, or in the situation before, or in that situation when you had went on board and you had different options? Like, do you think looking back there was other alternatives than like look, first of all, let's make it clear.
Yeah.
The Rogthras play gave you the green light. There was like, hey, bro, I'm not even mad at you, bro. You actually have to do this right now because I'm not going to hold you to this and make that deal be the reason you're not able to get in or possibly get in. You know what I'm saying? So let's just make that very clear. But any other, like, after reflecting on it?
Yeah, so after reflecting on it, I think there was one major option that I could have done, but then the extent of it was just a hard read, because what I could have done is I could have put Dracogenesis down. I could have started the like Bladewing the Risen Tear of the Peaks situation where I shoot down the Voice of Victory and, get the Tim Nadargo player's life down. So maybe if they try to head toward another Necro, they can't do that. But then the point comes in, where is it justified to stop? Because I know that I don't have any interaction that can stop them in a normal way, and unless the Rogthras player managed to draw something, they don't either. So like, even if they don't have the Voice of Victory on Tim Nadargo's board, we still very much can lose. So that was like the one thing I was thinking about. I could get their life flow and I could remove their creatures, and that was an possible option. So I think there was definitely a situation where I talked to the Rogthras player and do something a little bit more along those lines. But otherwise, I don't think there was really an out.
100%. No, I definitely hear what you're saying. That and one other option came to mind. But just to make sure we're on the same page, basically what happened was the Tainted Pact deal happened, and then the turn where you had to take no game actions, that was the turn we were at before, where Rogthras or the player played their Voice of Victory, and then you were in the turn with no game actions, and then that's when it was like do or die in that moment, basically.
Yep. So basically it was Tainted Pact deal here, nothing happened, huge development with Voice of Victory, then me with win on board.
100%.
That's what it looked like. So if I pass no game actions, whoop, lose there on Tim Nadargo's.
Right. And so what's coming to my mind first, I don't know who the player was. I have to give them flowers with the wording of their deal, because they didn't tell you not to win the game. They said take 0 game actions on your turn. That, first of all, shows that I don't know if they knew how your deck won or what the gist of what your deck did, but it showed a high enough IQ to say, hey, if I say don't win, all you have to do is kill 2 players, get him down low enough to where, and kill all the creatures on board and just leave the player left on the board where they can't do anything against you except die to your Dragon Swing on your next turn. So high IQ play from them. The next thing that comes to my head is that was one thing that came to my head where like, hey, is there a way where you could talk to the Rogthras player of like, hey, they have a Voice of Victory on board. Can I kill the voice and just remove the player, and then we see what happens next after that? I can pass, like I could, and just maybe politic that. And the other option that I can think about is maybe talking to the player with the voice. Was there any willingness from the player with the Voice of Victory?
No,
that was like,
he was not willing to work at all. So like, it was clear that they were like locked in, like they felt good. And so they, of course, were justifiably mad when I pushed my line on my turn. I think a lot of the reason for that is because they did have it.
And so, man, I just had this conversation with somebody at the LGS about the willingness to politic, the willingness to communicate, because it can be argued. And this is, once again, the Rock Thrash player who made the deal with you said, do your thing, bro. Like, at this point, you're either going to lose or win. It is what it is. Do your thing. But there's a universe where I can think about the player with the voice of victory just saying, like, if he would have been willing to talk, y'all would have not immediately, well, they would have not immediately lost right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not to say, it's not to, I want to make this clear. The conversation is not about whether to advocate for lying or not, whether it's advocate for breaking deals or not. It's that to say, hey, in these situations where the two people who made the deal go like, hey, bro, I know I made this deal with you, but do what you got to do, bro. Cause like this player's not willing to work with this. Like, I would love to be able to find some situation, some deal where like, we don't immediately just lose to this voice of victory player, but because he was so confident that he's going to hold the deal, the minute that person who locked in the deal with you lets that deal go, it's like, now you lost because you weren't willing to communicate. And I think that's just a lesson that a lot of players can take, where it's like, hey, whether you're comfortable with politicking or not, we're in a social format still, and it does more to help you than hurt you just to have the conversation. Because I'm sure I can have a conversation with that voice of victory player just being like, hey, dude, all you had to do is talk to him. If you made the same known game action deal, y'all could have found the interaction to remove the birthing pod or remove the academy rector or something, and you would have just had another turn, and maybe would have ended up in the draw or whatever not, but he would have not just immediately lost. And it's tough in those situations, man. Like, honestly, like, is there any other reflection points from this game other than, of course, congratulations for the win? Like, is there any other reflection points from this game?
Yeah, I think it's just it was a big learning point for me for understanding politics and the high. I think I can honestly say I think it was the highest stress game moment that I've ever had, without a doubt. And I don't feel 100% good about it because I hadn't ever done anything like that before. But you know, I'm hoping to be able to navigate situations like that more and more, having them come up where I'm able to, you know, lean toward getting top cuts and, you know, figure out how to communicate like you're saying. I think I could have probably gone toward a more clean communication and talked about other possible lines, stopping the loop at a certain point. I think at that point, with the money on the line, I made my choice. And, you know, I don't regret it. I think it was, if anything else, you know, just a good learning experience for 100%. Me. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
No, 100%. And this also last thing came to mind. In addition to what you said, I think this is an amazing learning experience. Another thing that popped to my head is like when the Rock Thrash player first put the deal to you to like, hey, don't take any game actions. That's also an awesome opportunity for you to go to the rest of the table. Like, well, hey, we're about to stop him. He's telling me to take no game actions. I could even, you could frame it as I can't even get like a risk study to get in this game now. What guarantee do I get to untap again? And talking to that player even before the voice of victory comes down and be like, hey, are you agreeing to not go for a win on your turn as well? You know what I'm saying? Or like, maybe I think the term go for a win is too vague nowadays because there's so many things that are not winning.
Yeah, you just evade it with like, they have no libraries, but right. I didn't win the game, or like Final Fortune happened, so it wasn't this turn. Like,
exactly.
So many ways to evade it.
Literally. But I think like this is such an awesome learning moment, and I would love, like, as you continue to notate things, please drop these like level ups in the TC community, because I would love. I run a table talk masterclass right now where I talk on political moments, and I would love to just learn like other things that tournament players are finding. Like, hey, I was in this situation the first time, the next time I was in it, you didn't get me that time. If I'm going to take no game actions, I need to make sure that I can untap again. And so I really love your willingness and desire to want to take a level up from this instead of seeing this as just like, fuck it. I had to take the win. No, it's like, what can I learn from this to be better? So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man.
100%.
So, yeah, like I want to
that was the Invi, and then boom, top cut hits, and I see that 17th place. I'm like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah. And man, talk to me about those feelings you were feeling. Like, was it like, man, I tried my best? Was it, dang it? Or how were you feeling at that point, man?
You know what? I actually felt a lot calmer than I expected. You know, I came in ripping a deck that really doesn't have a place in the meta according to your average person, and I did very well with it. I had a lot of fun doing it. So even though I didn't make that cut, I know like I did better than a lot of players that I really respect a whole lot. And I was able to get to this place, where I'm able to compete with these players at all. And it felt good to have that experience, even if I wasn't making the prize money, even if I wasn't getting into that top cut.
No, I definitely hear you there. And once again, congratulations on the undefeated. I know it seems like the draws can be like, what do you mean undefeated? Like, y'all have to understand the level of understanding of the game and mastery of the game to like push some of these players to go for a draw. Because I know no matter what level you've been at, we've all been in a game where a player's been like, you offer the draw and they're like, no, why would I take a draw? And he's like, hold on, look at the entire board state. You will not untap and win. It's either like you're not going to win.
Draw or die. That's really what it comes down to.
Literally. And then that moment sounds like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's a skill set to get a draw. And this time we didn't get there. But like I said, hopefully next time the Invitational we get there. And hopefully we can bring the Tiamat deck that we can hit them with the 1-2 surprise again, maybe. No promises, no promises.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. And I want to get straight into this deck tech. Of course, they've seen the Tiamat list on this channel before, but I know you've gone a whole new direction. But before we get into that deck tech, I just got one thing to say to the folks. Hey, I don't know if you all know this, but I offer one-on-one coaching for both political skill sets and also Meta Buster Brews. So whether if you want to learn how to run my list or you have your own Meta Buster Brew that you want to be able to run, or you say, hey, T, I'm great at the game, I'm great at being patient, but my yap is trash. Check the link down in the bio to get some political help and also all those coaching skills from yours truly, moi. Let's get to it. So let's talk about first the notable categories that make your deck unique. As in, or I like to tell people, why play this commander? Like, why Tiamat? And so could you talk to us about this dragon package starting off?
Yeah, so it's lean. You do not want to be drawing dragons the entire time. So I've got only 5, just like you can tutor with the card. So we've got More to the Frost, Terror of the Peaks, and Bladewing the Risen as the classic loop, where I can send down the Terror of the Peaks. That's going to be dealing damage, as Bladewing the Risen and Moray are going to trade between state-based actions of copies of Bladewings dying and Bladewings ETB reanimating dragons from the graveyard. That's going to allow for infinite damage with Terror of the Peaks. It's going to win the game.
100%.
Dragon Lord Jamoka, that 4th dragon, that's going to be a silence dragon. It also can't be countered, which is huge. So if post Tiamat they're saving a Force of Will, that's too bad, because Dragon Lord Jamoka can't be countered. So it makes things a little smoother sometimes, depending on what kind of interaction. And then Hoarding Broodlord, that allows you to go into another line. So if there's some kind of graveyard Stax piece that's kind of preventing you from pushing that normal win you do with the Bladewing the Risen loop, then you can go into a Thoracle line, or my favorite line that I've been using a lot more recently is a Food Chain line, where you can 1-card combo with Food Chain with Tiamat, because you can slam down Tiamat with Food Chain on board, sack Tiamat for black, you can cast Hoarding Broodlord, you can get Squee, you can sack the Broodlord, slam down Squee, infinite mana, cast Terror of the Peaks, infinite squeeze, infinite damage, gun, and the table's dead.
Now that's hot. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, that was smart. Transitioning the 7-mana commander into your Hoarding Broodlord, which is 8 mana. Dude, I wish I could give you a high five. That was genius, brother.
Blam.
Yeah, I'm saying, please keep going, brother. Keep going, brother. Keep talking.
Yeah, no, so that's a smoking hot line that I've been working with recently that's super clean, because, if that Food Chain lands, people don't expect you to hard cast Tiamat to push toward the win. They're expecting you to have to go into an infinite mana line right away.
100%.
So that's something cool that I've been able to do recently. But yeah, that pretty much summarizes the dragons there.
100%. Awesome why for the list. Like, there is no other dragon commander. There's no other commander that can viably run all 5 of these dragons and convert it as easily into a win. So if you're...
Now, what I will say about the dragons is sometimes it bricks, because I was in the finals of this Friday event where I went 11 points in Swiss. I was in first seat, ready to groove, and I had my hand. It was looking good. First draw, dragon. Second draw, dragon.
No.
Third draw, dragon.
No.
So unfortunately didn't win that game. But I will say, variance-wise, it's very rare that happens.
100%.
It does happen occasionally, and it is tough just drawing those cards. But, you can usually get through it.
No, 100%. And notably, like these aren't completely dead cards. Like being able to, I talk about the idea of having turbo consistency where you can consistently push wins on turn 2 to 3, having mid-range adaptability. That's like, hey, I can have a Rhystic Fish or an Esper to just get into the mid game a little bit. Maybe I can't out mid-range my mid-range decks, but I can keep up a little bit. And also having that late game inevitability where if the board is locked down enough and you start landing these dragons to be able to apply pressure to people, it does bring that level of inevitability, similar to how Cipher is like, they just need mana to win. Like if you don't, there's a certain point in the game where they just have so much mana, they're just going to win the game. And so like having that inevitability of being able to apply pressure, like I recently was talking to, shout out to Dracomancer, about like, because he just plays Bladewing the Risen as a commander, and him being able to go like, all right, well, like it's very, very like turbo list, like has this awesome 1-card combo with the commander. Like I'm not gonna take his flowers, like try to explain it better than him. But the idea, I even looked at the Bladewing the Risen recently. I was like, okay, like what can I do with this like card even more than what it is? Like looking at the full card, you know. And I noticed that last line, I was like, hold on, I can pump all my dragons for that just one turn. And like when I'm in those locked out Stax games, I can just start like say, hey, I have nothing else to do with my mana. I'm gonna start just applying pressure.
I have killed people aggro with dragons before. We had done well in Swiss, 2 wins going into the 3rd round, and the TNT player in front of me in seed order had guaranteed win in hand. They had just Necropotenced and were just barely not able to push out a flash win, but they had their card set up with Thoracle Decon and 4 pieces of interaction. But piece of interaction that they didn't have was a bounce spell. And I had a Tiamat that I had hardcast the turn before, and they were down to a low enough life total where I could swing at them and kill them. So we were in a situation where like I was like, hey everybody, I can't push win because I got stopped, but I have a Tiamat here that can kill TNT. So I like show Tiamat, draw, and the draw got taken. Sometimes having a big flyer, it matters. I mean, they're big beaters.
Yeah, people forget like this is a 7/7. The number of times that I go like, all right, well, like you're in that. I tell people all the time, if you see me hardcast Tiamat, something is going desperately, terribly wrong. Like call the ambulance, something terrible is happening. So I'll hardcast that Tiamat and like I'll just get like for my list like Meringue, Brute Lord, and I don't know, something else. And then just not the whole package, so in case I get willed away, I'm not fully fucked or nothing like that. And it's just like that first combat comes around, I'm like, let me see I'm just looking around like who's doing the most. I'm like, all right, I'll turn this team at. They're like, all right, how much damage is it? They be like 7. What? 7? 7? I'm like, yeah, it's a 7/7. Like they's like, wait. And then all the politics start like, hey, well, he's doing this, and all the Spider-Man memes go and everybody's pointing at each other like that. Yeah. So no, I love to hear that you're able to like lean on that, like that heavy hitter of just having that big beater in the command zone. So love that, phenomenal, man. Well, with that being said, that's the why for the list, but we want to win the game. So can you talk to me about win cons, man? Talk to me about win cons and finishers.
Yeah, so it is as clean as 2 cards in this deck. You got Thassa's Oracle, the all-time classic, and then you got Terror of the Peaks, a staple of Dragon decks only. So in terms of the Terror of the Peaks line, I mentioned it earlier, but you're starting a Graveyard Recursion loop for infinite damage, or you're doing a Squee Food Chain loop also for infinite damage. So Terror of the Peaks, when your creatures are landing, dealing damage equal to the power that they land with. That's all it takes. If you do it enough times, your opponents have no life left, 100%. And then you got your easy win there. Cool. And then Thassa's Oracle, everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. Well, maybe not, but it does win the game.
Right.
And basically the thing that the Tiamat deck does differently is because of all of our pod effects, we can sneak it into play. So we can do things like we can Neoform it, we can Birthing Pod, these other strategies rather than only having the choice to hardcast it. So we have some unique strategies to get it out onto the field. And sometimes that allows for you to drop down, that Voice of Victory, that Abolisher, and then have more ways to get into your Thassa's Oracle line than, a deck like Blue Farm would be. Because obviously they have a lot of tutors. Their Breach line makes it easy, sure. But in terms of the number of ways to get a creature to field, Tiamat has way more than your average, meta pile would have.
No, 100%. So of course, like if I just want to bring it real quick to the Thassa's Oracle, I love the inclusion of the Neoform and the thought process of like, hey, this is not just for sacking the Academy Rector. I can also just convert to the Silence Effect or just convert to a Thassa's. With that being said, I'm noticing we're running both Tainted Pact and Demonic Consultation. Personally, I love the inclusion of Tainted Pact because you can stop it. But whenever you're running those like more synergistic brews that have pieces like, oh, if I hit these pieces, I'm done. The Demonic Consultation could sometimes feel like more of like just purely like the true Forbidden Tutor. So is there ever been times where Demonic Consultation hasn't felt good, or is it because that we're not looking to interact, we just never use the Demonic Consultation for the Forbidden Tutor aspect?
I mean, sometimes you do. If my memory serves me right, that one game that I was able to bring to a draw, it was because I had the Demonic Consultation, and while their win was on top of me at flash speed, I was able to decon. So just having an instant speed tutor, I mean, it's hard to deny its value. Some games, it blows you out, and some games it's exactly what you need to win. And I think Demonic Consultation is a card that I brought over from my time on Blue Farm, where it's a big risk, but sometimes it is the perfect card. 100%. And also it's just another combo piece with Thassa's Oracle, because I don't necessarily have the best way to get those instants or sorceries in my hand. I've got like Spellseeker, Diabolic Intent, Demonic Tutor, Vamp Tutor, Imp Seal. I've got a few ways to get it, but so having that concentration of having two of them in the deck, I think is just valuable.
100%. I definitely resonate with that. Yeah, I hear that. And also, like we said, brought up leveraging the experience with Blue Farm to say like, hey, sometimes you just got to make them have it. You know what I'm saying? And so for the audience, I will give reference to what I was saying where I took this from the CySA pilots, notably even the ones who run Thassa's Oracle. Sometimes they will run Tainted Pact, but not Demonic Consultation, because you can use Tainted Pact, but the minute you hit a combo piece that is part of your combo chain, you can say, sorry, y'all, we're fucked. I'm not exiling, or I'm not, unless it's like we're going to die here, I'm not going to keep going and fuck my own game plan up in the hopes of stopping this player. But with Demonic Consultation, it's the thing where you have to name the card, you have to keep going. And so it really comes to, once again, your meta analysis, how well do you know your own deck, how well do you know your own meta? Is like, do you know the game board and the game state well enough to say, hey, if I don't pop this consultation, we're just 100% going to lose. So what can I do to inch myself closer to that victory? So very well analysis there. But
and one minor thing is, if you have Food Chain and Terror of the Peaks in your hand, if you hit that Demonic Consultation and search for any card in your library, even if it exiles Squee, that's all right. That actually works for your game plan. I haven't done it yet in that situation, but then you can just go into your loop.
That's actually a very, very good point. I'm not going to lie. I'm not on Food Chain personally, but because you're on Food Chain, there are combo pieces that you don't mind going to exile. So that's also a thing. Like for anybody looking to brew Tiamat and you're like, hey, I really want to include Demonic Consultation. Well, if I'm going to brew Tiamat, I want to include Demonic Consultation. You may want to look towards the Food Chain variant, because all you need to really have in hand is the Food Chain, and make sure that like, hey, now you're not looking for, I need to have Meringue and Dracogenesis and Miram. No, it's like, no, I just need to make sure I don't hit my Terror of the Peaks, and avoiding one card.
You could even name Terror of the Peaks, and if it's lower than your Squee, there you go.
Ooh, come on. Like, come on now. No, I love the flexibility. And I really do appreciate the further explanation right there, because that was like a big thing for me. Like when I was first brewing the list, like I had both Tainted Pact and deconning, because I'm like, also auto includes. And as I played games, as I was playtesting, goldfishing, and just everything, it was just like, man, like this decon just started to feel worse and worse. But I love the point of, if you're on Food Chain, it becomes more of a powerful tool. Like, of course, we all know the play of, hey, decon for Food Chain, hope that I hit the Squee and I can sack the creatures to help get it out and whatever, not the Squee out. So 100%. I love that. Well, we know how we finish the game. We know how we get to that finisher, but we now have to get to the finishers themselves. So can you talk to me about your tutor packages, please?
Yes, I can. So I would say the biggest thing that I was talking about is creature tutors are king in this deck. Yes. So you've got the classic worldly tutor, but then you've got a lot more spice from there. So you've got Fiend Artisan, which is a more recent include.
Okay.
And I'm trying that out. For those that don't know Fiend Artisan, you pay X and then either a blue or either a black or a green. Sack another creature, search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, pop it on the battlefield, and then shuffle. Activate as a sorcery. So this is cool because a lot of pod effects are like you can only go one higher than whatever creature, whereas Fiend Artisan is like you got extra mana, get a big thing, get Rector, you know. So that's some pretty cool tech. And then I've got Finale and Nature's Rhythm, some really good tutors that you're going to see in, you know, Kiddenless and Thrastless. I've got more pod effects, Neoform, Eldritch Evolution, Birthing Pod. And then I've got creature tutors in there. I've got Imperial Recruiter, Recruiter the Guard, because guess what they find? They find Rector and they find Squee. And that's really what you want in your life.
100%. Awesome includes. I was going to ask about their Imperial Recruiters and Recruiter the Guards because many times these are not people's favorite tutors, but I think that it's important to include these, and you hit them right perfectly. If you all are playing Food Chain, if you're Play Academy Rector, these are just easy. Like, hey, I have a shit ton of mana, I can convert this to a win. So just keep these in mind. Thank you. And also just a fun include. What I really like about this Fiend Artisan is that, yes, it's a 1/1 at the base stack, but this intrinsic ability to get +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard means as that Bowmasters is pinging off your dorks, you can still progress your Fiend Artisan and it still be protected. Because, of course, you know, that's what Bowmaster does. They're not hitting. They should hit the Ristic Study player, but there are times where you want to just hit the dorks because you want to take back people's progression in their early ramp. So them hitting your dorks in some place really helps, keeps this creature around, giving it a buff +1 or +2 or +3 to allow it to untap for your next turn. So I do want to just note that. I think this is I like your thought process with this inclusion, and also the big one where you can go up as high as you want with the pod effect with this one. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And I put Ranger Captain in there because, as I said, that can get Viscera Seer, which is huge because that's one of our combo pieces. So it counts as a creature tutor in this deck.
Bing, bing. Come on now. Well, with that being said, let's talk on some generic tutors, though.
Yeah, generic. I mean, you've got a lot of the best. Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor. You've got your Demonic Tutor. Diabolic Intent is huge because of that versatility between, yes, being a really good tutor, but also being a way to sack Rector as a part of the cost. You got Wishclaw Talisman. It's the generic mana used for Wishclaw Talisman is really nice. Yes. You know, it's not very pip intensive, which is good. And then Demonic Consultation we've already talked about. It can be a tutor. Tainted Pact is in there. It's of course a little bit safer. Crop Rotation is in this deck, notably, and that's because the Lazotep Quarry is a huge target. So you're gonna find me getting Lazotep Quarry more often than I get Gaia's Cradle, which in terms of the meta these days, you don't see that very often. Yes. You know, because Lazotep Quarry being able to sack Rector is huge, and it also has a secret second ability. Maybe we'll talk about that when we get to the land section.
No, 100%.
But then, in terms of another generic tutor, Hoarding Broodlord technically counts. I mean, it can find something. So
no, that's actually, it kind of gets into another question that I have for you. Right now, we're only playing Hoarding Broodlord. We're not playing Saw in Half. We're not playing any Entomb effects, any Reanimator effects, unless I missed something. Please call me out if I did. But with that being said, like, has there been any times where you've drawn Hoarding Broodlord, or like where you've wanted to maybe get Hoarding Brood out earlier, or it's just like, nah, like the Cavalry Rector lines are that viable where you don't ever really need to lean on Hoarding Broodlord in more the Reanimator sense?
You know, so like I started with kind of a more heavy Hoarding Broodlord package, where I had like the Saw lines in there, and you know, tried out like Animate Dead or Reanimate, but I found in the end it just wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. So yeah, I mean, personally, I see that you kind of run a bit more toward like a Mardu package with like Invoke Calamity and that type of thing. I see things that are used in Kalia decks, if you've seen those, which are really spicy in CEDH in your build, and that just wasn't kind of the slant that I wanted to lean
on. No, 100%. Yeah, like the Kalia builds, and I got to give flowers to this. What's the wizard commander? Turbo Grixis?
Inala?
Yeah, Inala. Inala was actually the root of why I'm on Invoke Calamity, because long story short, I was on World Gorger Dragon originally. I love that combo. I feel like there's a universe where we need to see it just a bit more because of the influx of silence effects as well as instant speed enablers, you know, like especially with Surveil Lands, the introduction of those. You can literally go Entomb, Necromancy with the Surveil Land on board, you mill your entire library, and then you just end the loop of putting a Thassa's Oracle on the graveyard. I love it. Really cool. What though ended up happening though is they just kept printing better cards. Where I got to give shout out to Bissy Baxton, aka the Kefka guy. We were talking about this list because he was the first one in the TC community to like really say like, hey y'all, let's do Draco Jizz. This is kind of cool. And so we were talking about it, and I really like started running with the list, and I was like, man, like I love War Gorger Dragon, and I personally, no jinx, but I've never been blown out with War Gorger Dragon.
Dude, the next time you run that line, brother, you're gonna get blown.
I don't want to jinx it. And no, I'm not perfect. It's like when you feel invincible with Final Fortune. I've never been blown out in my Final Fortune turn. Then you finally happens. Like, and it's not because I think I'm perfect. It's more of the thing because it's like what I experienced was I always pushed it at instant speed or behind a silence effect. Of course, not a board state one like a Orm Chant. Well, not Orms, like a Revelant Silence or just a traditional silence. And so I really didn't have too many times where I never had a time where a person could stop me, especially when you had a redirection effect where you could stop their, would it be a Touch the Spirit Man, Odawara, Boseiju, whatever not. You just felt unstoppable at that point. Yeah. With all that said, when they kept printing cards, shout out to Biscuit, he just says like eventually they're just going to print cards that are just objectively better. And that's when I eventually for me, Meringue, once I finally saw the full depth of what Meringue could do, I was like, respectfully, why I can't argue to run War Gorger Dragon anymore, because I'm running a combo that because I'm patient, I'm never going to just jam that if I don't feel like confident, like that I can really just get there. You know what I'm saying? Because it gets hit on both axes on the stack and on with the permanent base removal. So I digress. Totally. With all that said, I eventually still wanted a way to win at instant speed with dragons, and so went on research. And Anala was like,
"Fair play,
hey, we have Invoke Calamity." I'm like, this card sucks, but I tried it out, and long story mid,
dude,
it's been
shout out to my buddy Bo. He plays Kalia. He kills it. He tears it up at locals, and he does those Invoke Calamity lines. He has like this nasty thing where he's like sawing in half infinite bow masters to kill anybody, and it's some crazy stuff, dude.
Like, I kid you not, like, shout out to Bo. Like, Invoke Calamity, I'm not gonna lie, at first I thought like, all right, it's gonna be a dead card like Thassa's Oracle, but I really want to be able to win an instant speed, like have multiple ways to win an instant speed outside of Born. But I've been finding it's actually ridiculous, like for enabling combos, of course, the first line, because like getting the double saw in half is ridiculous. Like even being able to like cast to reanimate and then recast to reanimate to do.
When things start getting into like dual caster mage stuff with the Invoke Calamity and the saw in halves, it gets really out of hand.
Literally, and you can even like that new one from Modern Horizons 3. I'm not on it, but if you want to run the MDFC land, that is a you can bring back an instant sorcery from the graveyard to loop that with your burnt offering and the Invoke. It's just so many options. And I've even had, and this is crazy to say, I can't believe I'm saying this, because I'm on Treasonous Ogre, because I'm on Rite of Flame and all these other effects that make so much red mana, there's time, or Tinderwall as well, there's times where I just hard cast that booger to recast a Force of Will and another piece of interaction. Like, it would be literally like, someone's going for one of this stack, and I'm like, all right, I'll go for the Invoke Calamity, I'll put a Vampiric Tutor and Force of Will on the stack, and it's just like, it's fun. Like, it's fun in addition, like, it surprised me because I'm not on Breach and you're also not on Breach. It's been like cool to have some additional level of recursion, which, and of course we'll get to your recursion in this list. So, but we're not talking about my list. We're talking about your list. And we've just got done talking about an amazing tutor package. And before we go into card draw, is there anything else notable that you would love to talk about with your tutor package?
Nah, I think we covered it well.
No, 100%. Well, you know what I gotta say? We know how to tutor these win cons, but we gotta draw into our tutors. So what's our backup game plan? What's our card draw package looking like, brother?
You know, I gotta say, so like with how many tutors, so I've got 20 tutors in this deck, right? So it's literally every fifth card is a tutor.
Right.
So the card draw package can be a little bit slimmer because of how many tutors I've got going on. So it is really lean right now. So it is Esper, Mystic, and Ristic.
I am not mad at you. Can I can I be honest? Like, it's the point. I personally tell people you just want the big four, which is Esper, Fish, Ristic, and I tell people the One Ring if you're a little more mid-range.
I've tried it, but in this deck, I wasn't seeing it.
I'm not mad at you. I actually took it out because I personally don't, in a turbo deck, I don't love the One Ring if I can't get it down turn 1 to turn 2. And there's just times where it's just, especially if you're going land, dork, land.
Yeah.
You're just,
And I don't have ways to like untap and retap it. I'm not hitting up a Seedborn. I don't have to Revy. Like,
exactly.
it's slow compared to what I'm trying to do.
And that's the craziest thing, because I remember I talked to people about that. They'd be like, because I'll have people argue that, oh, the One Ring is great. Then other people say, man, like, are you sure that's the right thing, Fearless? I'm like, I'm just play testing it. And then eventually I got off the One Ring to get on the Necro, because I have like 4 ways to win an instant speed, and it's really cool with the Necro, the Shallow Grave, the Born upon the Wind of Final Fortune. So the Necro was great, but if I gotta really say to y'all, if y'all questioning the lack of card draw, please just trust me. He's not crazy. Caleb is not crazy. It works.
Crazy,
it's
I
like
promise.
It's just enough to be able to lean back and say like, hey, I'm only down to 3 or 4. I can just get down the Esper Fish heuristic, but mostly leaning on those tutors, especially, like I have to say this again, you breaking parity with all the creatures to leverage these creature tutors really makes it worthwhile. So yeah, no criticism from me, brother. I ain't gonna lie, like everything seems good to me. Anything else notably to bring up for the audience about why we're only on 3? Like you've talked about the not inclusion of the One Ring. If you want to, you kind of talked about untap effects. If you can delve into that a little bit more.
Yeah, just basically, I want the best of the best card draw cards that really aren't gonna have me build around them, right? And so these 3 are the rock solid. These are just gonna draw me cards, and they're gonna be great at it. So
100%.
that's why I've got them in there.
I'm with it. Yeah, awesome card draw package. It gets the job done. But we got to ramp to the card draw. Like, this still costs 3 mana. Like, that's a lot of mana. I'm just playing with you. But, talk to me about your ramp package. We have a robust ramp package, but can you just talk to me noticeably about the biggest ones?
So 23 cards in the ramp package, over a 5th of the deck. We're really leaning into getting that mana fast because we want to go into those turn 3 wins, whether it's, a Food Chain Slanted, an Academy Rector, or a Dream Halls. We're trying to really get those slammed early. And so that's going to require more mana than your lands would normally provide. So we've got around 6 or 7 dorks in the package, so making sure if possible I'm landing a turn 1 dork. Oftentimes I want to go rocks into the dork, so if I can go like Ancient Tomb, Felwar dork, we're feeling really good. Or go like into Soul Ring rock dork. There are packages that have me untapping with 3, 4, even 5 mana that really allows me to push early. And some MVPs, the Treasure Makers, Lotho and Tithe. I mean, those are just straight gas in the deck. They allow you to potentially go into some like hard cast Tiamat type lines because things get really out of hand, and sometimes you're sitting on so many treasures. I remember one game where I was sitting on 30 treasures, and I was like, if I can Drake someone's Knuckles the Echidna, I can win on my upkeep. Which would have been funny as hell.
The fact the fact that we can say that seriously, like, hey, I want to just Drake your Knuckles so I can win on my upkeep because I have this. I'm not even mad at it.
Crazy meta out there, brother.
I'm not even mad. It's just like, the meta we live in today is phenomenal. This is phenomenal, dude. Yeah. Phenomenal. And I will say this. I bring up a lot. I'm already kind of hitting on the notable exclusions comparison to my list. I'm not on Lotho and Smothering Tithe. I go turbo.
No, brother.
I'll talk about it. I'll tell you because I actually recently had this conversation with somebody. So they asked me, shout out to my guy, Emo Chicken. So he was like, hey, bro, like I'm interested in playing Tiamat. I really like your list because I be kicking tail in the TC community. Shout out to the TC community. And when I was talking with them, he was like, man, why aren't you on? I understand Smothering Tithe. I got you. All right. You want to use 4 mana for Trees and Soaker or whatever, or Dream Halls for 5 mana. You're not trying to get out of Smother. I get that. But why not Lotho? And then I broke it down to him. I said, because I have 0 advantage in my command zone, how my moles are is I have to find my whole game plan in my mole. And because specifically for my brew, I'm looking for game plan and the mana to execute that game plan. A lot of times what my game plans are looking like are a tutor and a reanimate effect that's early Brute Lord combo or earliest Treasonous Ogre into Dragonstorm or Dracogenesis. Another option is all these different things like land dork into an early Dream Halls and all these other things. The thing about the Lotho, though I would love it, it kind of clashes for when I'm usually trying to tutor because I'm notably using a lot more top deck tutors instead of creature tutors. I'm only on 19 creatures compared to your package. Where the Lotho has amazing strength in being able to get me that consistent mana. I found that a lot of skill players in my meta play around the Lotho, especially once they realize that every treasure they give me can convert into a win. But even more than that, it clashes from when I usually want to cast my tutors, and I can't get it down consistently turn 1 without sacrificing the rest of my hand. Like, oh, I have a Lotho, but I'm getting it down turn 2. Also, when do I cast my turn 2 tutor? I guess on turn 3. Also, when do I push? Dang, I guess on turn 4. So it was as specific.
And I think some of that is actually in how our land bases are constructed, because like my first fetch is Savannah, and my second fetch is oftentimes Scrubland.
You know what?
So I really am able to cast Lotho a lot easier than you would be able to.
I hear that as well, because I'm not on Savannah. I'm notably especially because Invoke Calamity, I took Savannah out for Plateau, and I took Taiga out for something else. But those are the two fetch targets that I'm not on. I can see where you have more dorks, so you curving into it. Like, and also, especially if we go back to the tutor package, your explosive turn doesn't look like instant speed turtle. Your explosive turn potentially looks like Imperial, like on your turn 3, all in one turn, Imperial Recruiter into your, Academy Rector, and then sacking it right there. So your tutor, when you're tutoring, is more on turn 3, where for me, I'm tutoring more on turn 1 to 2. So where that Lotho window is turn 1 to 2 or 2 to help progress you into turn 3, my window is like, when do I cast Lotho if I'm trying to ramp and tutor all in the turn 1, turn 2 package? You know what I'm saying?
Right, because like I'm saying, I tend to try and win turn 3. I think that's my money window. Sometimes I push and I win turn 2, but I really like turn 3. And my dorks actually help me cast Lotho as well, right? You've got Noble Hierarch, Ignoble Hierarch, being able to provide black and white. Elves of Deep Shadow provides black. You've got your Avacyn's Pilgrim able to produce white. And these types of things not only allow me to cast Lotho, but also the Tithe, also the Abolisher, the Ranger Captain, because I'm just more slanted into those colors.
No, 100%. And that's also one thing that I will also bring up, like, because my window is specifically turn 2 to turn 3, that also clashes with me. I recently released a gameplay where I went turn land Imperial Seal to get a Treasonous Ogre, and I just cast a Lotus spell, go to my turn, play land, Elvish Spirit Guide, crack the Lotus, Treasonous Ogre straight into Dragonstorm. You know what I'm saying? And because I'm trying to leverage Treasonous Ogre more, that's where, once again, I experienced that Lotho slots clash. And let me make sure I over communicate this towards the audience. Y'all, both lists can work. Like, let me make this very clear. Like, both lists can work. And so I really love the explanation you give on Lotho. I love how you're able to be more consistently explosive on turn 3. Because I'll be honest, like, there's a lot more times where I'm pushing turn 2, but sometimes those are unprotected turn 2 wins, which can be in some metas like.
And don't get me wrong, brother. I still push turn 2, especially if it means I can slam Rector and sack it. We're going for it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I will add this though. The Smothering Tithe, I've been slowly thinking in the back of my head. It's been the very back of my head.
Do it, brother.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been thinking about it just a tad bit more because of those situations you talk about. If I'm stuck in a mid-range game, there is an amount of treasures that just equals Dracogenesis. Like, it's a lot, but it's basically enough to cast. If I have enough to cast Tiamat into, let's just say, just 3 dragons, Tiamat, Dragonlord Jamoka into a Hoarding Brute Lord, that's just ETB saw in half into, for at least for my list, Burnt Offering into Dragonsword. So there's a universe where if I'm looking for more mid-range viability, that Smothering Tithe being able to come in. I just haven't, like, because I was exclusively trying to go for just that pure turbo, I never found like the need for it. You know what I'm saying? And even those more drawn out games, leveraging cards like, for me, Burnt Offering allowed me to go like, oh, I can hard cast my Dragonlord Jamoka, cast a Burnt Offering, just sack on my lands, get a Brute Lord out, and it's just GG. You know what I'm saying? So I like, you're making me think. I'm saying this all to say, audience, he's making TTC think. Like, he's making me think. And I want to give a quick shout out to D Mage. He says, "What's up, TTC? How you feeling?" D Mage is also saying Lotho and Tatara are the partners in crime. Never leave home without them. Shout out to you. I hear that. I'd love to ask you about that. Tatara, is that something on your radar? Or is that a little slower, or how do you feel about that?
Tatara is tough. I think it's a little slower. I think you're less likely to get those triggers, but yeah, it's on the radar, especially because like 2-drop creatures are a cool slot because they enable you to Eldritch into Academy Rector, which can really matter. So that's definitely some reason to consider upping the value of something like Lotho or something like my Drakes, for example.
Okay. No, that's actually a very cool. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. With Eldritch being such a huge spell on the list, you being able to go straight into a 4-drop is super powerful. Like, just to kind of pick at your brain, if you were to give it like half a second of thought, like, what kind of slot out would you go for when it comes to adding to Taro? Like, would it be for one of your 2 mana rocks, or would those too powerful go into your soul lands or soul ring, or would it take out one of your 1 mana dorks? Like, what would you think to help people get into your mind as a brewer?
Yeah, so it's a really tough call. I don't think it would ever take down a 2-mana rock, because just being able to go from Soul Ring or Ancient Tomb into the 2-mana rock into a 1-drop after is just too powerful
100%.
to give up on. But I could see going down a dork. Like, I would say the most likely to eat the cut, I don't know, it's probably Fyndhorn Elf. Just because it's not as versatile as some of my other dorks. But yeah, I'd have to think on it. I could certainly see myself playtesting.
No, 100%. Yeah, thank you for that insight into your world. Another card I also notably want to talk about is I'm currently seeing Eternal Witness in the ramp slot, and I'm realizing this. I have to be accountable. I didn't give you a recursion category to talk about. So how is this used within our ramp slot, or is this just like, hey, I needed a place to put it into the list?
Yeah, no, I just needed a place to put it in the list. I mean, I could probably put it a little bit more in the generic tutor slot maybe, but it's basically a utility card, right?
Got you.
So post getting blown up because something happened, I don't know, something got Besaged or something like that, having Eternal Witness in the list is just, it's too good to not have, especially with such a pod focused list. It's another 3-drop that pods directly into the Rector. So if I can do something like pod into the Eternal Witness, get a card back, pod again, go into the Rector, it's like just a valuable thing to have along the chain.
Nah, that's true. Like, because I was gonna ask about how you felt about Noxious Revival, but then my mind automatically went, your creatures make your deck better. So they're like, whether it's Gaia's Cradle, whether it's any of your pod effects, man, that is very, very true. So the ramp side of it is like maybe at most cast a Lotus, crack at the cast a Witness, get the Lotus back. But the whole point is it's a great pod toggle to get into the but yeah, it could get something like a Lotus Petal. It could get something like a what's the 1-drop that sacks for 2 red? Tinderwall. It could get a Tinderwall. Like, there are ways to have it boost into mana. But yeah, it's really a utility piece. 100%. I love that, man. Man, like, honestly, I love everything I see. I know we're gonna talk on like more notable inclusions and exclusions in a second, but with that said, I love everything I see. I loved the discussion on Lothal and Smothering Tithe. I'm gonna hold off on saying that, but I just want to say I want to acknowledge that I love the discussion on that, because I love to poke holes into my own strategies, because that's how you grow. You have to, well, let me rephrase that. I love to find room for growth and teachability, always having a willingness to learn, always having a willingness to accept change. And I love your reasoning for them. The Lothal is still like, it clashes with the curve of my deck, but the Smothering Tithe, I'm like, dude, I've had some mid-range games where I've really sat there, and I would get there, but it'd be a little like there is a term that people use for Smothering Tithe very often, which is called omniscience, and there is a point in the game where you make enough treasures with a Smothering Tithe where it is the same as a Draco Genesis. It
totally is.
You just,
and there are some situations where the boards get really stacked out where Smothering Tithe allows you to break through. I think a good example is if like a Kinnan player has a Wandering Archaic, if you want to pay for that 2 mana to ensure they can't copy your stuff, having something like a Smothering Tithe is huge. Or if there are multiple Ristics, if you stored up enough treasures, you can go into your line, you can start paying for Ristics.
True.
So in those grinding games, it can really push an advantage that other cards can't.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I have, if I want to add one more thing, because I want to go to the next category, but you really like, dude, I'm like, my brain, like, I feel the fireworks going off. I'm so excited. I love talking to other competent brewers. You're awesome, dude. One thing I usually, when I'm brewing my list, I advocate for people to just say like, hey, dude, be cognizant of adding Smothering Tithe in lists that don't have a type of outlet, like a mana outlet, or have a direct game plan for something to do with that mana, which is not this list, but I give the example of like, let's say T and K is a great Smothering Tithe. You just convert mana into card draw. Sis A is a great example because you just convert mana into winning the game with Sis A activations.
Yeah.
There are an example of a list where I'm not saying Smothering Tithe is bad, but may not be the strongest, is a list where your commander just has removal in it. all right, yes, you're converting a bunch of mana. Yes, it's really amazing. It's a super, super powerful card. But as you're looking for cuts, you have to have that whole kill your darlings mindset. Are you willing to let go of a powerful card in order to do what's best for your list? You know what I'm saying? So I move with that mindset, and especially when I saw Dracogenesis and Dream Halls, and even eventually when I got on Dragonstorm, I was looking like, y'all, respectfully, like, how long do I have to wait for a Smothering Tithe to give me enough treasures to accrue that X number? However, we're talking, when did Tarkir come out? What, 4, 5, 6 months ago?
Something like that. Yeah,
something
not
like
too
that.
Crazy long, but
I have to acknowledge that the meta, even within that time, we were already on the cloning the Ristic for a while, but I think we're at an apex where it's still even set to probably go up more, where the number of draw engines that are being developed so early is honestly where we can have the conversation of having as much lethality as a Sisay deck does with the Smothering Tithe, literally.
There was a point where Smothering Tithe, maybe it draws you 3 to 5 cards turn cycle. That's not this meta. This meta, it just makes a ton of mana.
Yeah, and that's the meta I was referencing when I first, when I first started, I was on Breach and Smothering Tithe, just more of the good stuff list. But as I was molding it, I was like, man, I'm not trying to wait 8 turns to make the X. What is it? If I just use a real number, 7 plus 6 plus 8 is, that's 16 plus, that's
21, right?
23.
It's a lot of mana.
Yeah. So I think, yeah. Y'all, let me know in the chat. 7 plus 6 plus 8. No, where genius is it? Yes, I think that is 21. I'm tweaking. That's 21.
Great.
So 20. So it's 21 treasures. And so how long will it take to make that 21 treasures? And plus maybe a little more so you can pay for the Ristic study.
One Wheel of Fortune?
One Wheel of Fortune. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on Wheel. But what I will say is in the older meta, where, like I said, it was still a thing where Ristic studies were running and Fishes and everything was running mayhem. There was a universe where, like, it still took somewhere between 3 to 5 turns to accrue that much, including people who are just paying for their triggers and everything. However, now it's impossible now. Even with the Cradle Farm decks, it's impossible now, respectfully. It's too many double Ristics, double draw engines and everything. So then the last question comes on my list is, do I want to run a card that the game plan of that card is to, do I want to run a card that the game plan of that card is made for holding out in the late game, mid to late game, where my list is not the strongest?
I think it's just important to have pivots in any deck. So I think Tymna Kraum is a good example, right? Oftentimes your commanders are not your plan A, and synergistic pieces with your commanders are not plan A. So something like Delny that works amazing with Tymna is part of a pivot plan, at least in my list. Because I personally would rather be pushing an early Necro or an early Breach or something like that toward the beginning of the game, just because that's my play style. But to have the ability to say, hey, this board state, it's not going to happen right now. We need to do something else. Having cards that allow you to sit back and accrue value and push later is important, because if you have none of them, well, then you're like, okay, my window in the early game is gone. Oh, my window in the late game is not existent because I don't have the cards to support it. Right. So I think having a few of those can be valuable.
I agree. So then I'm processing. We got to keep moving because we'll have to have a chat after this. We'll have to have a chat after this.
I got you.
You're making me think right now, bro. And I want to just go deep into Tiamat tank, but we got time for that later on. With that being said, we have an amazing rant package. I love everything I'm seeing. I notably want to move on to our next package, though. The interaction, light but impactful. Talk to me, bro.
Yep. Okay, so the biggest thing is the number of counter spells is 4. It's Pact, Fluster, Mental Misstep, and Swan Song. No Mind Break, no Force of Will, no Force of Neg. We're looking at anything that costs 1 mana or less and is able to defend my wins. Because that's what I am doing with my interaction, a lot more than I'm trying to interact with anything else that the table has going on.
100%.
So that's huge for me. And then the rest of the package is it's more removal based. So you've got Abrupt Decay, Orcish Bowmasters, a Volatile Storm Drake, Gilded Drake. And then Mockingbird, I'm counting as interaction because it can also copy Bowmasters. Bowmasters is really tough against a deck that has a lot of dorks that can get shot. And so I kind of have 4 ways to remove those. I also have Cyclonic Rift, and Abrupt Decay are both to get those pesky Stax pieces off of the board. So if there's a Magda that's trying to hit me with a Torpor Orb, I have a way to get out of that situation. So, the Drakes are really good at stopping, someone else's Oppo or Dranith, because those can just completely murder the deck. So really good to swipe those.
100%.
It can also really just disrupt game plans.
Yes.
I think people don't expect Drakes that much. Yes, they're in Kinnan. Sometimes they're in TNT, but not extremely common, especially in a blue farm heavy meta. And I found that they've produced a lot of value for me.
Talk more on the Drakes. Because that was really my point. Like if there's 2 classes of thought, instant speed is king. That was my OG mindset, and not to say that is not viable anymore, but with the printing of so many more powerful cards, it's hard to argue that the Drakes are just dead cards. Shout out again to the TC Vanguard and the TC community. Bissy Baxton really recently brought up a discussion over we need to see more of these Drake effects with people running these super powerful commanders like Kefka and all the other things, as well as just Seaborn Muse. Even though we personally wouldn't use it, you don't want the Rock Thrash deck to have Seaborn Muse and being able to just land a creature.
What if I take it from them,
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, can I win with it? No, but I was gonna lose.
But at the same time, there are a lot of things that you can take with Drakes that do push you closer to the win. So for example, Kinnan is something you're gonna see really often. If you steal a Kinnan, it completely shuts them off, but then you're looking at your field of dorks and rocks like, my next turn is now insane.
I get
Going back to the other thing that go ahead.
Going back to the Tithe argument, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're running a lot of treasure generators, it makes stealing creatures more powerful, especially with Kinnan being such a prominent deck in the meta.
Remember when you said 21 treasures? Well, now it's 11 because Kinnan doubles them all.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And the other thing about Drakes is, because I'm on a huge pod package, the Drakes can get me to a higher point in the pod order. So if I use a Drake and I steal something like a Tymna, I have a 3-drop on my board. Guess what it pods into? Academy Rector, right? So
get the fuck out of here. I want to
accelerate my game plan in more ways than one.
I want to find something to throw at you, brother. We're like, I can find something to throw at you, brother. I'm messing up. No, man, like, I ain't gonna cap. Like, every time it gets me back into my pod, I'm like, this brother is on to something. I love it.
Yes, sir.
Keep going, brother.
Sir.
Any other big thing else that you would love to talk about the Drakes? Because like I said, like, I understand the argument, and I even still feel like that level of like, sorcery speed type of interaction, but super hard to interact with. Is there any other big
super hard to interact with? People can't usually counter them, so that becomes huge. And I talked about potting away from the Drakes. There's also potting into the Drakes. You've got your dork out. You need a solution to your problem. Boom, a Drake comes in from your pod, and the table's like, we can't counter it. It's on the field, and then yoink.
100%. I definitely hear you there.
And the other thing about Drakes is they steal Grand Abolishers, Voice of Victories, all these silence effects, where it's like, I actually have 2 extra copies of my silence creatures now because I can steal them from other people, and then I can run into my line immediately after.
No, 100%. No, I love that. No, 100%. There's a lot of interaction pieces that we're going to touch on when it comes to notable exclusions, but if you all want to know, Undefeated, Invitational, we got there. This interaction package, give or take maybe 1 card. I'm sure there's been small updates since the Invitational, or
the only update that I've swapped was I was adding in the Fiend Artisan and removing Expedition Map. Which is like, it's just tutor for tutor. The map gets me my sacrifice, last step quarry strategy, or the Cradle. Fiend Artisan goes more toward the creature side of things. So it's pretty much the same list right now.
Understood. One piece of interaction that actually comes to mind, though, that I would love to talk on quickly is I'm seeing the Cyclonic Rift. I am personally not on it right now, not because it's lacking power, but because the 7-mana Overloaded is less likely for me because I'm not on the Lotho, the Smothering Tithe, and all the mini dorks. I'm more on the Dark Rituals, Call Writs, and all the other shenanigans, like the and T-Organ and everything. With that being said, an amazing board wipe plus ramp spell that we see a lot in the meta right now, especially against these Cradle Farms, these Sisseys, these Kinnans, is the Culling Ritual. So I'm seeing that's being excluded. Is this just because the conversion of black and green to a win is not a thing we see, or is there another reason we're not seeing color ritual right now?
Yes. So I think it's twofold. I think my conversion directly into win isn't as easy because you're a lot more focused into Broodlord. You'll notice my list doesn't even have a saw in half in it.
100%.
So going into that heavy black doesn't necessarily convert me into a win. And my package is really focused on board presence. So like the long line of dorks and rocks. And so if I hit the calling and I'm not able to get through, maybe because there's some other interaction going around, I just took myself completely out of the game.
That's real.
So that's kind of the situation as I see it right now. It is a very powerful card.
100%.
I've seen it do amazing things, especially in like TNT, but also they have a commander that can turn that mana directly into card advantage right away, you know, whereas with Tiamat, you can't just cast it with black and with green.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at with my slightly different strategy there.
No, 100%. And I have to acknowledge two things. First thing is you are on much more creatures and dorks. A culling ritual, literally, unless you're converting straight into a win, as you brought up, it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's doing just as much, if not more damage to you than it is doing to your opponents. And then unless you got the Broodlord in hand, but even then, different conversation. That's a whole thing. You literally probably would need exactly Broodlord and Food Chain in hand for it to be worth it. That's the first thing. The second thing that I would also bring up is that from the description of what you've been saying of being able to convert it into a win, I'm hearing like similar to how I was feeling about Smothering Tithe, how you're feeling about Culling Ritual because of the different direction of our list. Like for me, I can't believe I wasn't on Culling Ritual when I first got on the list. It's fucking awesome. You know what I'm saying? But once again, it comes back to the conversation. Yo, we're not just adding these cards in because of their power level. When you reach a level of brewing, you want to ask yourself, am I able to kill my darlings? Am I able to really look at a card and say, how well is this card supporting my strategy, or is it doing more detrimental? Even going back to this interaction package, we don't see a Force of Will. We can talk about it right now. I can tell you, I looked at your blue card count. I'm like, yes, this makes this makes sense.
It's low. It's low.
like right now, if I remember correctly, I saw 15 blue cards in the list. Of course, not including Tiamat. That's never going to be in your hand unless you chain it, which we don't run Chain of Vapor. But I'm seeing we're on 15 cards, and I'm like, in my personal experience, I found that 17 blue cards plus a Force of Will being 18 total is that sweet spot in your 99 to make at least Force of Will viable. But when we're on so few blue cards, it's like Force of Will becomes basically a 5-mana Mind Break trap. Well, not the same thing, but it's the same as the argument of like
not even as good.
Not even as good, because like you're not even able to easily cast it, and nothing feels worse to have one card in hand and then look at it as like, man, I have a Force of Will. I could counter this if I had a way to stop whatever they have going on, but I don't have a blue card to pitch. So yeah,
if you look at my package of like what I can actually pitch, right? It's like Morite, which is a combo piece. It's Dream Halls, which is a win con. It's Neoform, which is a combo piece. Like the actual things I can pitch, it's like, am I going to pitch another piece of interaction? Probably not. Am I going to pitch a Drake? That's like one of the few where I'm like, okay, I could pitch a Drake.
Yeah.
You know, so like my actual count of cards I can justifiably pitch gets lower and lower.
100%, especially because I was gonna bring this up later. We're choosing to run more at the Frostfang over running a Phyrexian Metamorph. I currently am on Phyrexian Metamorph because the easier cast early game and the utility. But I don't knock for more at the Frostfang because when you're on this, well, there can be argument to be able to go Brute Lord into the Phyrexian Metamorph. It's neither here nor there. I would love to hear your opinion on that. But I can understand where it's like, no, when getting rid of Morat the Frostfang gets rid of your ability to combo with Bladewing, and you don't have a Phyrexian Metamorph or a Saw have to be able to pivot into, it makes it as in like, no, I don't have the option to get rid of this Morite to pitch to a Force of Will to either stop or protect this combo. But I'd like to hear that, like, about your opinion about the inclusion of a Phyrexian Metamorph over a Morite, seeing how you could go after a food chain, go Hoarding Brute Lord, either convoke it out if the Draco Genesis gives you enough creatures, or just going straight to using the food chain mana to cast the Phyrexian Metamorph.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is just I need to tutor it out with Tiamat, right? Because I don't think so. Phyrexian Metamorph, it doesn't have Changeling, so I can't tutor it with Tiamat.
No.
So that's the biggest thing. I want my line to be clean. I want it to come straight from Tiamat, and so that's why I've got Morite in there for sure.
Understood. my follow-up question to that is, do you see a universe where, are there instances that come up where hoarding Brute Lord is just not available to you, and that's where the cleanness comes in? Or, and even in that place where there's another blue clone that comes up, that's the double blue clone.
Deceptive Frostkite.
Thank you. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting.
Let's see. There we go. Deceptive Frostkite, 2 blue. It's a 1/1. You may have this creature enter as a copy of a creature you control, only you control, with power 4 or greater. Except it's a dragon in addition to its other types, so it's off the Tiamat. Notably, now it's a card.
I think the biggest thing is it's kind of nothing outside the combo. Whereas Morite can do things. It can become a second Ristic. It can become a second Tithe. It can become like more valuable copies because it does have that line that's copy of a permanent you control, you know?
Right, 100%. And if we can quickly go back to your list, like, of creatures that are larger than 4 power, I think they're only your dragons. It's the Dragon Lord Jamoka, the Blade Wing. Is it maybe
it's just the dragons?
Yeah, maybe the Fiend Artisan, but you don't ever want to clone that.
It could get there, yeah, but not likely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing, maybe something you take with a Drake. Nah, I think it's only the dragons. Yeah, so I can definitely see that. Like, I get it. 5 versus 2 mana arguments is how often you gonna have 5 mana to cast a clone. What if you're in the long game and you have a Smothering Tithe? Once again, argument for Smothering Tithe. If you have a Smothering Tithe or another powerful treasure generator on, Morite has more flexibility. Notably, if you all are not familiar, it says you may have Morite the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control.
Yep.
That could be a Guy's Cradle. Except it's a legendary and snow in addition to other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with an additional 2+1/+1 counters on it and has Changeling. So I love that reasoning. I personally, like I said, I'm in the Phyrexian Metamorph game camp where I've had games where literally I was hurting on mana because just low mull plus just was whiffing on my draws for land drops. I did a Tainted Pact and stopped at a Dark Ritual to use the Dark Ritual to get a Phyrexian Metamorph out. Use that to copy someone's Soul Ring. Later on, I did a Culling Ritual, then used a Reanimation spell to bring back the Phyrexian Metamorph to be able to win with Blade Wing the Risen. So there is that flexibility with that. But once again, I have a lot more reanimation effects and other things that I'm leaning harder on Hoarding Brute Lord. So I can hear that argument of like, hey, if I lose Hoarding Brute Lord, now I can't combo with Blade Wing. And I don't believe we're on any other clones right now, so I can hear that argument as well. But
so just to clarify for your combo line, because I'm interested, right?
Yes.
So you're just using the Metamorph to get another Blade Wing so you can bring back Broodlord one more time?
Oh, no. So what I do is, and I'm gonna be honest, my regular combo line is, if we can scoot past all of this, the usual combo line I use is leveraging Blade Wing the Risen, Miram Sentinel Worm, and Terror of the Peaks. Miram Sentinel Worm, of course, we know that Moraine combo with Draco Genesis, but what I usually do is I will play the Miram, play the Terror of the Peaks, and then play the Blade Wing the Risen. When the Blade Wing the Risen enters the battlefield, it will trigger Terror of the Peaks and Miram. I'll stack the trick and itself, of course, but if there's no dragons, then it's no target. I'll stack the trigger so the Terror of the Peaks kills the Blade Wing, sending it to the graveyard, and then resolve the Miram ability to make a clone of the Blade Wing, which the original is now in the graveyard, bringing a copy onto the field, triggering the Terror of the Peaks, bringing the original Blade Wing back and looping that. That's the main combo that I do because it works with Draco Genesis, Dragon Storm, and Dream Halls. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, I also normally have the Sawn Half and the Phyrexian Metamorph that I use as backup lines where, like, there's times where I don't need to Saw and half the Brute Lord because I have so many creatures already on board across from OBM and other dorks or whatever, not and just other dragons, where I'll just use the Saw and half on the Blade Wing, or I use the Phyrexian Metamorph on that. But because I'm not leaning on just a singular clone to win, and like I said, Dragonstorm, Draco, and Dream Halls, it's usually a lot easier for me to convert them into just, hey, after casting the Dream Halls, I go discard Terror of the Peaks to the Miram. To cast Miram, I'll discard a Brute Lord to cast a Blade Wing, and then I'll start the loop by being very intricate with how I stack the triggers. But that's specifically for my list because I have the inclusion of Miram. I feel like that may divert from your game plan, or maybe I
Yeah,
maybe miss.
definitely. Yeah, like for example, when I have Dream Halls, right, I'm able to discard Terror of the Peaks to cast Blade Wing, which
Right.
gets Terror back into play, and then I'm able to discard Dromoka to get my Moray into play to copy Blade Wing the Risen, and
Got
then
you.
start the state-based action loop from there.
100%. And see that cleanness that is a cleanness that my list doesn't have, because I'm not running a green clone that I could discard the Dragonlord Jamoka. And granted, I have the Miram Centaurworm that is my green creature that I want to use for the clone loop. So yeah,
Right.
and I'm glad you brought up. That was actually a question I had. What was your line? But that is super simple to clean. Going, yeah, this discard Terror to cast Blade Wing, discard Dramoka to cast Moray, and then you end the loop with a silence effect on Born. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and you don't need the Boarding Brute Lord at that point. And if you have a black creature or a black card in hand, yeah, you can have that extra protection. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else when it comes to our interaction package, though, specifically?
I think we got it. I think we got it covered.
Okay, cool. Well, that's not it though. But wait, there's more. Can you talk to me about our silence effects? Because we got a lot, because we're in this mid-range meta, and we got a lot of our pod effects as well. Talk to me, brother.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, so oftentimes pod effects, bringing these into play is huge. Sometimes people really can't stop it, especially if it is specifically the named card Birthing Pod. Whereas, some of the other pod effects can be countered while they're on the stack. But obviously, hard casting these is viable in my list. My land base supports it. So we've got Grand Abolisher, Voice of Victory as the big hitters for 2 mana. We've got Cutzel and Ranger Captain as 3 mana silence effects.
Yep.
And then we've got some kind of more interesting includes in here, which is Spellskite, because it quote unquote silences bounce spells because it's able to send stuff its way. Also works well to defend against OBM.
100%.
And then Mockingbird, again, can copy someone else's silence effects.
Yep.
I didn't have it in this category, but the Drakes can have a similar function where they're able to steal silence effects. And then, of course, if you got the mana from something like a Tithe, or you've got some, infinite mana from a food chain, Dragonlord Jamoka is a good thing to just slam down. Even though it costs 6, it still says can't cast spells on your turn. So.
Dude, I love this card so much. I had a discussion the other day with somebody on YouTube about Dragonlord Jamoka, and they were respectfully, and it was just a thing where they were saying, the counter dragon, where it's like when you cast it, ETBs counters a spell on the stack, or did you not go down that wormhole yet?
I think I've heard of that spell, but I haven't used it.
Right, I haven't either, because I really like having this discussion with them, made me sell myself more on Dragonlord Jamoka. And what I love about it, where you have Smothering Tithe, I have Rain and Filth, and I do this pretty often where I'll just hard cast a Dragonlord Jamoka, and as long as I have 1 black mana, and I get forced into mid-range games, especially in my own community, because people know, we're not going to let you get a turbo win on this, bro. We're not stupid, y'all. The competent players, they're able to convert. I'm able to convert the land drops as well as Convoke to just hard cast that Hoarding Brute Lord with the Rain and Filth, or just the Entomb Reanimation effects or whatever not. So I love this. Uncounterable. You better have Mindbreak Trapper, Sink into Stupor, or bust. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
I love this card, even though it's 6 mana. It's tough. I get it. Yeah. I digress.
But yeah, that's the silence package that I've got going on.
No, I love it, man. This is phenomenal. So with that being said, we are not on any Stax effects. So the only last thing that I want to talk about before we talk about our inclusions and exclusions is notably, give me some notable land inclusions that are specific, that makes your bureau just work and churn.
Yeah, I mean, so Cradle is kind of the easy one, right? It just makes so much mana, well known. It's the reason that Rogthras exists.
Yeah.
And then, just kind of the slant I was talking to you about earlier with what lands I actually have included for duels. I am on 8 out of 10. So I have no Badlands, no Volcanic. Really, the only red cards in the deck are Terror of the Peaks and Squee. And with Squee, I'm getting that red mana off of sacking something else for, food chain.
100%.
And then with Terror of the Peaks, I'm casting it usually from either having infinite mana or having Dracogenesis, where my dragons are free. So I'm just not worried about red pips in my list. I have to make 1 red pip for Imperial Recruiter, and I have enough lands to make that not a problem.
100%.
And that's all the red in the entire deck.
No, 100%. Look, I ain't mad at you, brother. I ain't gonna tell you to vote Invoke Calamity. I'm sorry. Every time I say that Invoke Calamity's card name, I'm like, I can't believe I'm running that card and how much I love it. But look, I am not mad on that at all, brother. It all makes sense, and I have to really hone on this because it sounds like you did this, and I believe you did. Just the love and care you have to do in a 5-color land base. It's not as it's one of the really tough things, especially when you still want to include powerful cards like both Seiju, or I'm not seeing Odawara, and that's completely fine. Like,
yeah, no Odawara. Yeah,
we're not. We ain't trying to stop people.
It's because we're not usually holding up green. Again, like I said, green, white, and black are the primary colors for my build of the deck, and so that's what I have available to me more often than not.
No, 100%. I'm not mad at that exclusion at all. Like, it really is a thing where, like I was bringing up, you have to be, especially with 5 colors, you have to be very intentional with your land inclusions. And when you start to see those patterns come up, like, oh my gosh, like this fetch came up to be a dead land, or oh, this fetch target, I'm never looking to get it. You have to start making those kill your darling decisions. You have to start making those logical decisions to take things out to find the better inclusion. And so it really looks like that is what you did here, and I love it, like 100%. One thing I want to ask about, because we're on the Ancient Tomb, we have this 4-mana Academy Rector that's really busted. Is City of Traders something that we've put energy into, or is as a turbo list, or is that just not within our angle what we're trying to do?
You know, it's in the conversation. I think that's in the conversation. I think Phyrexian Tower is in the conversation as well. Lands that produce 2 are pretty wild. They're pretty crazy. Yeah, it's just a tough call. I found that the deck is pretty pip intensive. I have a lot of double green.
Yes.
I have a lot of double white. I have white black, white green, and so the colorless lands, it tends to be just really tight on what I can actually justify running.
Yes.
I certainly could see myself playtesting City of Traders in the future, but for now, it's not on the list.
I'm not mad at that. I actually that was gonna be one of my big questions till I really understood how much of a pot list you are. I was like, dude, how are you casting this Ranger Captain and Grand Demolisher and still winning Turbo? And it was like, dude, what are you talking about casting them? Who's casting?
just send them in for 1 mana with Birthing Pod.
That's like TTC. Who's casting a Grand Demolisher? No, I just wanted to bring that up. Like, I love that inclusion, and so yeah, definitely something that I love. The thought process you're on. I definitely hear you there, and like, it's tough. Like I said, we're still a 5-color list, even though I do think it'd be awesome. I also agree with your analysis that it's tough to argue that to add another double colorless source when it filters into our talismans that we're trying to get into our colored sources. So I definitely hear you there. And we've talked a little bit about Phyrexian Tower, and I believe you were going to bring up Lazotep Quarry, but
yeah, Lazotep Quarry.
If you could just fully dissect this for us.
So it's tap for a colorless, or tap, sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color, which of course is able to sacrifice Academy Rector and rip right into our enchantment-based win cons.
100%.
And then the last ability, pay X and 2, tap, sacrifice a desert, which Lazotep Quarry is. Exile a creature card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie.
100%.
Activate only as a sorcery.
Yes.
So what's interesting is if you're not going toward a Rector-based game plan, or you have another sack outlet like Viscerous here, you can use that bottom ability to do some pretty crazy stuff that I have done in game.
Yes.
So one of the things that I've done before is I have exiled a Ranger Captain that I haven't already cracked, and brought in a new token Ranger Captain that's a 4/4. Another thing I have done before is an Esper Sentinel has been shot by an Orcish Bowmasters. Sack the Lazotep Quarry, bring it back as a 4/4 zombie Esper Sentinel. Yep. You want to pay 4 for those non-creatures you're casting? How about I draw cards?
It's only 3 mana and a tab. Get out of here. I love that. Again, that's another high five worthy right there. I was thinking about, that's really good. Like, if you get blown out, you just bring the Academy Rector back and try it again. No, I wasn't even thinking about the Esper. I love that dude. Man, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Now, notably, the Academy Rector you can't bring back because it's a token copy.
Oh, never mind.
You're right. If it goes to grave, it's not going to be able to have the trigger to exile itself.
That is true.
So that is something to bring up. But there still are a lot of cool use cases for the Quarry.
100%. And notably, you are 100% right. I am wrong about that because the token is not seen as an actual card. 100% correct. Thank you for that correction. With that being said, like, any other notable things you love to bring up about the land base? Or are we just like, we chilling at this point?
We chilling. This is the land base. I've got rainbow lands. I've got a focus toward Asband, and I've got a couple of tech pieces, and that's it.
Cool. Well, before we get into these playtest hands, I just wanted let's talk about it. I talk about my Tiamat list all the time. Everyone knows what I'm doing. Everybody, like, the secret's out. There's nothing I'm hiding. But we got to talk about the comparisons, because now we've seen 2 different viable Tiamat lists, and I would love to pick your brain more on notable inclusions and exclusions for your list in this cEDH meta. So I've already created a comparison list, and we are a whopping 43 cards different. But
wow,
you know, and it's okay. No, because it's okay, because I know it'll be like, I can start off with a simple one. I'm running Noxious Revival. I'm not on pod effects. You're running Eternal Witness. You're on pod effects. You'll see a lot of these 1-to-1 comparisons where, of course, there's some things that I've completely diverged in a different direction, but there are things that we're literally running the same card slot, just different cards, because of the difference in our intent of the list. So starting from the top, we're not on Treasonous Ogre. We're not on Dragonstorm. So, like, you're not on Dragonstorm. I would think that'd be enough reason. You're not on Invoke Calamity. You're not on Dragonstorm. You're not on Final Fortune. Like, there is enough not included, like, big mana red spells to not include Treasonous Ogre. Unless you were thinking about it, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you to include it. It doesn't make sense to me. Anything to add on this? Like, or we're on the same page?
I mean, yeah, I think we're on the same page. That's just not my slant.
Okay, 100%. I'm gonna start blitzing through these. Please stop me if I miss any hard points. When I see a Pyroblast, I'm thinking we're not trying to stop people and we're not trying to protect ourselves. I use more of the stack. You're breaking parity to that. You don't need as much interaction. Good to keep going?
Right.
Same for red.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that Red Blast and Pyroblast are very powerful, and so having them in your list, totally reasonable.
Yeah. Once again, I ain't breaking parity though. Can we just bring flowers? I'm trying to give you flowers, dude. Like, this is genius. Like, I want to recognize, if you all don't want to play this stack game, you need to understand the beauty of the pod variant, which I really, really think you are genius here, is I don't need as many answers when I'm breaking parity, similar to what Sisse does by just activating and putting things onto the board. So you don't need as much
you've got the nail on the head there. Yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
So I just want to bring that up for people. Like, if you want to play the more interactive, because I can now, the beautiful thing about running more interaction, and this kind of will go for all the interaction pieces that you see or don't see, is I can convert my playstyle to a mid-range list a little bit. I won't be as good as the average mid-range list. Like, I'm not going to out mid-range TNK. I'm not going to outrange Kennen, but I can still slug it out and fight just a little bit and make sure that I get the untap again, especially for more of my playstyle being political. But that is because I like having the option to pivot. Like, my saying is turbo consistency, mid-range adaptability. And I want to be able to adapt to the mid-game if that is what I'm forced to do. So it's about their playstyle, but we like different playstyles, y'all. So it depends on what you're doing. If you want to interact more, this list. If you want to be able to break parity, or if you're a Sisse pilot, notably, I really think Sisse pilots will really love your list because of your redundancy on pods. But stop. I'm gonna stop glazing this, man. You're a grown man. Get off your knob. Jokes aside, Phyrexian Metamorph, we've talked about that, as well as Miram Sentinel Worm. Offer, notably, if I look here, we're on Mox Diamond in your list, correct? We're on all the free.
Yeah, I'm on Mox Diamond.
We're on all the free.
The only one I'm not on, notably, I guess, would be Mox Opal. I don't know if you're on that, but I'm not on Opal.
I'm not on Opal as well. Like, my art, I couldn't squeeze. What? You got, well, no, you only have the 2 major token generators, right? With the Lotho and the Smothering Tithe. Yeah,
and if that's happening, I don't need an Opal. I've got a million treasures.
I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah, my question would be, since you're on most of the free interaction, or free Zero Rocks, do you see a universe that using Offer as a ritual can be viable in your list? Because I don't just use it as a counter spell. I use it as a ritual many times.
Yeah, I don't think it's what I need in my list. I've used it in Blue Farm before to good effect as a ritual, but that list also plays Mox Opal. It also plays Mox Amber. Like, it has more targets that tend to turn it online. So yeah, personally, I don't think it's a fit for me.
Understood. We already talked about not running the same reanimation package. Not a big deal. I want to ask about Born Upon the Wind. My hypothesis was because a lot of our activations for pod effects are sorcery speed, so we may not be looking to win at instant speed as much, but you are running the Smothering Tide, the Lotho, the other big mana generators, so being able to win at instant speed could still be something. I just want to pick your brain about that one a little bit more. And also Final Fortune as well in the same category.
Yeah, so the deck is definitely built to win on my turn. I think the biggest thing is because your list is like more interactive than my list, you potentially could defend your Born, whereas mine would just be bare. It would just be blown up more likely than not. So that's a big thing.
That's extremely
and
fair.
Then the other thing is for Final Fortune, I'm not leaning heavy into red, so producing double red could be an issue for me.
Yes, I actually agree about that. Once again, the argument for like we're not on trees in this ogre, we're not. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, nothing else to touch on about that. I was gonna ask about Lively Dirge for the Academy Rector, but I don't think you need this type of pot effect because it also doubles as an Entomb effect if you just do the first free cost. Unless I'm missing something, I don't think you need this. But is this one?
I'm not as focused on doing something like reanimating a Broodlord, so I just don't think it's the fit for me.
Yeah, I agree. And granted, I will say this doesn't reanimate a Broodlord, but this notably so Lively Dirge
I can put it in there, right? So you can use an animate dead or something else.
Like necromancy, all the things. What I love about this one though, and even when I was attempting to do the Academy Rector line, notably I'm be honest, you have slam dunked it. What I love about your list is that what I was going for with my original list is that you can just use the full spree cost of the plus colorless and +2 just to put it on straight into the field, and there's no interaction point. So if you have the sack effect in hand, all you need is the Lively Dirge to resolve. However, notably, once again, if you don't run as much interaction, you're asking a sorcery spell to resolve on turn 2 to 3, which, like I said, not impossible, but once people know you're an Academy Rector deck, they're not likely going to let this resolve. And so
just looking at it, right, it would be 5 mana, right?
5 mana total.
1 in a black. Yeah, 5 mana. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not incredibly unreasonable. Like, you think if you have a silence creature out, for example, it's another line that sends you straight into the Rector. So, yeah, it's something I could consider on my horizons. Maybe put in the baby board for now.
Okay. I didn't think so, but okay, you're right. You are running way more silences than me, and I love that. I love sound effects. I'm a Jeskai player at heart that came over to 5-color. With that being said, I'm personally running Chain of Vapor, which used to be Into the Flood Maw, which used to be Cyclonic Rift. So when I talk about the 1 for 1 for 1, it's like literally like this is your Cyclonic Rift slot, so nothing to add. I'm notably running Chain of Vapor because I'm running Necropotence. Being able to remove my own Necropotence is important because I have things like if I'm trying to do Dream Halls, I'm discarding things into exile. So being able to remove my own Necropotence is important, but I digress. Veil of Summer. Ooh, you're on a lot of sound effects. I don't think you need this.
I don't think I need it either. I've tried it, and it's one of those things where it's like, this isn't something I can defend. So I can't really justify it.
I agree with this. Because I think y'all need to understand. Like, let me go back up here. You are on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you are only on 5 because 5 is my sweet number. So we can immediately jump to this. We're not on the inclusion of silence, and I'm guessing it's in the same camp of Veil of Summer. You can't defend it as easily, and you can't pot into it, right?
It is in the exact same camp. You're right on. Yeah,
100%. Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm not mad at this. Okay, I'm running Limdol's Vault. I'm not going to argue that for you. It is not a pot effect. We have nothing to talk about, or unless I'm missing something. No. Not a pot effect. We can keep it moving. Singing Super, that increases my blue card count. I am on Force of Will, which is the next one. We've already talked about Saw and a Half. We're not trying to do the Hoarding Blue Lord centric plan. I'm a little bit more on that. We keep moving. Mystical Tutor. I don't think you're more of a creature leaning deck. Mystical's a no-go, or else I'm missing something.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, what am I gonna get with it? I guess I can get one of the cards like Calling the Weak if I need a sacrificing card, or another tutor.
Yeah, I think you're spot on for the exclusion on this one. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue. Ragavan is actually one that I'd love to talk to you about. Like, is this purely because we're already not on Badlands, we're not on Volk? Which I skipped over. We talked about that already, but because we're not on Ragavan or Volk, this is one where it's just like, nah, I'm not generating red as often. Or talk to me.
Yeah. I think it's really on. I'm not generating red as often, and also like I want my 1-drop creatures to be guaranteed producing me mana on the next turn. And so Ragavan, sometimes you get in the right board state, you're staring down a team of Thrasioses, and you're like, this doesn't do anything, Ragavan is a great card. Don't get me wrong. I love it in TNK. It's awesome, but I'm also getting Badlands a lot in TNK. And in this deck, I don't even have a Badlands.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's kind of my thoughts there.
I definitely hear what you're saying. I was going to push back for a second to bring up like, hey, it's another treasure generator. Same category as being able to be able to support that if you still a Kindle plan. But once again, maybe up to turn 3. After turn 3, usually everyone has a comparable blocker. Most commanders can block this in most situations. So yeah, I'm actually not mad at that exclusion, and I respect that. I still love it, but at the same time, you brought up very good points here. We've already talked about
it's a good card, can't deny it.
Right, yeah, that's a good card. Odawara, the real ones will get that clue in. We've already talked about Odawara. We're not really holding up blue too often. We talked about the 1-to-1 for Noxious Revival versus Eternal Witness. We're on more of a pod variant. We don't need that. Notably, we aren't on Born Upon the Wind, Shallow Grave, Necromancy, or Final Fortune. Necropotence isn't the best include, and we've already also talked about we're not on the Untappers to argue to having the One Ring, so makes sense here. Want to ask about Simeon Spirit Guide. Notably, it being a turbo deck, sometimes just having that extra piece of mana can be helpful, even if it is paying for a colorless. But I want to get your mindset on excluding the other Spirit Guide, even if it's not the dominant color in your list.
Yeah, I see the argument for it. I've played with it before. It's a good card. I think in my list, I'm just really tight on includes. Something like Elvish, it gets me like a second dork, which is like super big. Or it gets me another green pip that I need for Eternal Witness, Eldritch Evolution, for Cutzel if I'm short on green, for Abrupt Decay if I'm short on green. Whereas Simeon, right, it's almost like it's just producing a colorless for me, which isn't necessarily bad, but again, it's a pretty pip intensive deck. I think it's in like a similar category to City of Traders, where it's like this is good. It does feed into the game, turbo game plan, but I'm just on the fence about including lower pipped or not really functional pipped cards into the deck.
Understood completely. If I got offer one more pushback, because I would love to hear your feedback on this, it's a 3-drop. Even though we talk about when the are you going to ever cast a Simeon Spirit Guide, but because we're a pod variant, having that 3-drop creature that can go into an Academy Rector is a conversation to be had. I don't know if you've ever hard cast your Elvish Spirit Guide to get into an Academy Rector, but just to poke your brain about that, does that maybe add another perspective, or is it even like it, yeah.
That does add a little bit of perspective. I'm a little bit more intrigued on it. I think I would probably include City of Traders before I put in Simeon.
That's fair. Talk to me more about that. Talk to me. What's your thought process? Talk to me.
Yeah, so with City of Traders, right, so you get the 2 mana boost right away when you first play it, but that boost of mana doesn't go away on the next turn because you can tap it before you slam that land drop. So it feels like you get double use out of the boost of City of Traders, where with Simeon you get the single use. So that's kind of what I'm feeling about that one.
You're basically, in the worst universe, you're getting 4 mana from City versus the Simeon's just 1. That's a very good point. Yeah. So maybe a thinker for the future, just something to play around within your noggin. I'm going to think about Smothering Tithe. You think about Simeon Spirit Guide. That's going to be the joke. Good. Everyone's going to be in the chat saying, TDC, add fucking Tithe, bro. You're tweaking.
They probably are going to say that, and I would support them. I'll like all their messages.
I love this. Next one is Cabal Ritual. I wouldn't argue for it. Is there any thoughts towards this? I'm not going to argue towards that. I don't think you need that black as much.
I just don't think I use black as much. I don't think I fill the graveyard as much. It seems like you have a few more ways to get things in grave as well, or at least are trying to sometimes tutor into grave. So yeah, I just don't think it is the move.
I completely agree. Rite of Flame, it sounds like it's the same category as Ragavan, if I'm thinking, where it's like you're not generating red and you don't need red as much. We've talked about Culling Ritual, super powerful card. In my head, if we can bring up back Smothering Tithe for the list, that was the clashing card in my head. I was like, well, what do I take out? Well, I don't want to take out Culling Ritual, and it may be a thing like if, once again, you really got me thinking on the Smothering Tithe a lot. If I were to include it, I think it may be another card in addition to Culling Ritual, notably because I recently was in my recent games really experiencing, once again, these TTC community members. I gotta give y'all a shout out. We've been really getting some skilled players, and players who are newer to the format have been getting a lot better. So a lot of more of my games are being forced into the mid game because I'm just reading the table like, this is a terrible turn 2 to turn 3 window. Like, I'm using the stack too much. This is not a window for me to go. So it turns that I'm being pushed into more of the mid game, and that made me realize I have to include notably these mid-range Punisher cards, namely being Orcish Bowmasters and Culling Ritual. And I think if I were to add a third one, Smothering Tithe will be another awesome mid-range Punisher card, a card that I wouldn't say the only punish would be if they pay 2 mana to not give me the treasure, but the benefit of them not paying was literally at 21 treasures. That is a game win for me, just going Tiamat, Jamoka, Brute Lord. So that's my thought process if I can keep
And
that.
it shouldn't be underestimated. Like, if you get a tithe down something like turn 2, right? If you get somewhere between 3 to 6 treasures, it means the next turn you're untapping with enough mana to really push compared to if you had dropped down any other piece.
100%. I definitely hear you there. And I mean, like, I'm just like so much processing going in my head because I'm also looking at, like, I need to also I would have to re-look at my 4-drop slot because I'm on the T-Ogre right now, the Culling Ritual, both really big bombs that convert into wins. And so I just need to process some more. But mainly here for you, I agree with your analysis to not add the Culling because we're not looking to convert black and green mana into an instant win, which makes sense to me. I will, though, poke your brain at Untimely Malfunction. I personally have been in love with it. It being instant speed, it's phenomenal. But as I talk about it, my brain is moving. I'm realizing, how is he going to protect this on the stack to resolve? Where for me, I'm running more interaction. And for me, I'm at like this spell is usually what my usual play pattern is I will go, if I'm going Dragonstorm, for example, I will go Dragonstorm for Dragonlord Jamoka, and then I'll go do a Miram to then double my Hoarding Brute Lords. And one Brute Lord gets Untimely Malfunction, the other Brute Lord gets a Saw in Half. So when I perform the Saw in Half combo, the only way they can interact with me is the channel effect, and I have the Untimely Malfunction available for me to be able to use while I'm protected by sound effects.
Yeah.
But this is a different conversation for you with your list. But I want to poke your brain at it and I'm just like, it's an interesting card. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are for your list specifically. I like it for mine. But
I think the reality is that in the end, your list is going to be a little bit more resistant to Boseiju some of the time, or Otawara, whereas my list is going to be more resistant to something like Chain of Vapor or Cyclonic Rift, right? Because I have more silenced creatures. I have things like Cabolisher,
and,
right?
Yeah,
so
the Cabolisher is crazy, yeah. Not like good crazy.
So,
good crazy.
Yeah, so it kind of just depends on what you're seeing more often in your meta. I kind of just accept the fact that sometimes they have Boseiju, but more often, in my opinion, they're going to have some other kind of hit the thing on the board removal, which I'm going to be able to cancel out with the silence effect.
100%.
So yeah, no, I think Untimely in your list makes a lot of sense. Especially with your alternate line where you're talking about being able to get the Saw and the Untimely at the same time, which is super sick. The fact that you're able to produce more red than me, so if you ever need to hard cast it, it's a lot more alive of a card. I think it does make a lot of sense in your list.
100%. Yeah. Cool. That makes sense. I'm stubborn, bro. I'm gonna keep giving this brother shout outs to him because he's an awesome pilot. He switches decks a lot, but him on Tim Thrash, it is the fastest Tim Thrash pilot I've ever played against. Really awesome dude. ISO.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's just like when he hit me with that Talon Gates, I was like, no, fuck, I'm stubborn, bro. I'm not gonna say, oh, sometimes you just gonna give me no. What's my answer to this? And it was like the epitome of like that's what eventually led me to this card. But I digress. Just keep it pimping. We're not on the reanimation effects because we're not looking to reanimate Brute Lord. I'm on Gemstone Mine over Tarnished Citadel because I use my life some games. Sometimes I don't, but I don't want to be punished for that. But that's just an individual deck thing. We talked about Invoke Calamity. This is completely different archetype. Poke your brain at Daze, I guess. Yeah, actually, I would love to hear your opinion on Daze. Being a free piece, you're winning at turbo speed, but you're not. Is there ever a time where this may be handy, or what is your thoughts on this?
Well, I think this format is producing a lot of mana right now. I think when you think about the top lists in the meta, you're looking at TNK, Rogthras, and Kinnan, in my opinion, are the top 3 decks in the format. TNK has Smothering Tithe. It's got Lotho. It's got ways to produce mana. I mean, Rogthras is just producing insane oobs and gobs of mana with the Cradle. Kinnan always has extra mana. So if you're talking about Daze, like it can just get paid for really often. So I do like the fact that it's free, but that element of it, I don't know. I'm not completely sold. And then the other thing is my list, right? What was my priority? Well, it was green, then white, then black, then blue, and then red. So having islands down is not a guarantee.
That's actually very fair because that is a thing that I resonate with that because I have to actively keep that in the back of my mind, like especially when I'm in the mid game. I actively will look at my land base like, hold on, I don't have days in my hand, but this next fetch, I need to be some type of hybrid island, because in case I draw it and I'm in the middle of a stack war, I'm going to either start off with the days to maybe make them tap wrong, or end with the days to be able to finish everything off. But I need to have an island on board where if you're not even prioritizing the island, that's very, very fair. One thing I will push back on slightly is I'm experiencing in this turn 2 to 3 window, you really are able to catch even the meta decks of Kennen and other pilots. Well, no, I'm not going to say Kennen. No, you'll never catch them not having money up. That's a lie. But the TNKs and non-Cradle decks, you're able to catch them without that open mana. Do you think that's worth it? And I'm speaking specifically for your list. Like,
I think it's valid. I think Grixis piles or Grixis plus piles like Blue Farm tend to be greedier. They tend to want to land their pieces, their rocks, their Ristics, their draw engines in that kind of range of turns 1 and 2. So yeah, I think you can catch them for sure. I think if the opponent's deck has green, then that's where you're getting a little nervous. You're like, they're probably gonna have mana.
I'll be honest, I was like, all they need to do is have a fucking dork up. That's not a hard ass for any light green deck. But I digress. I keep it moving. I'm on the defense grid over the Grand Abolisher because I'm not potting.
I like the grid. I'm never getting rid of Abolisher, but I like the grid. I think it's cool.
I wasn't going to argue for you to add it. Well, my thought process, and I would love if you push back on this, my thought process is because you're potty into your silence effects, you don't really need, or you may not want a non-creature silence effect in your list. That was my thought process after really understanding your section of the brew.
Yeah.
The 2 colorless, though, is fire, but I didn't know if that was enough to trump, like, literally every other silence effect you have. Respectfully, in my opinion, is better. And I'm not running Grand Abolisher Ranger not because they're bad, but because literally, like, they're just harder to cast from your early game in comparison. So what is your thoughts?
I think where it gets a little interesting is if I include City of Traders. City of Traders and Grid pair well together. So I could see myself trying out both of those in the list and it getting pretty nice.
And would you be thinking to add it in as a 6th silence effect, or switching or flowing maybe like off Cutzel into grid or like off? Well, no, not Ranger, but the only one I can really look at maybe is Cutzel for grid, or would you add it in as a 6th?
I think it would be go off Cutzel and try out grid, because like Captain, I can afford the extra cost because he finds me a combo piece, which is insane.
100%.
It can also be used like offensively, which is crazy.
100%.
But yeah, Cutzel is kind of like it's good, but I could see going to grid. Grid is so much easier to cast, insanely easier to cast.
And like my biggest thing that goes to my head is, especially like if you're pushing turn 2 to turn 3 windows, like even forcing them, in my experience, I'm finding like to have the interaction for the grid, it makes it have a harder fight when you try to go for a creature combo, because really the grid is to stop them from bouncing your Draco Genesis while it's on the board of the Dream Halls or whatever. Not you want to lock them out from that. After that, like I don't really care. So I say all that to say, I wasn't thinking that, but that's a fair argument.
Yeah.
And I guess
the only danger is I lose a 3-drop creature, which I really love.
That's what I was thinking. But it's like,
so that's tough.
I'd love to hear your mindset on this. Like my thought process was, well, like if I cast a Cutzel, do I ever want to lose a silence effect for the Academy Rector? But I'm guessing, yes, you would in some universe. Like if you progress the Cutzel turn 2, it allows you to have a protected turn 3 birthing pod. Then you sack it, and now you force them to have spot removal for your Draco Genesis. And I'm guessing that may be the thought process. But what has been your experience with that?
No, that's totally right. I have willingly sacrificed silence creatures to go up the pod chain, and honestly, sometimes it really just works. So particularly, no, but you're exactly right. It's like birthing pod. If I slam down the pod under silence, it's like from there they have to have the chain of vapor or the like swords or like something that actually interacts with my board properly. 100%. Otherwise, they're just done for. So
okay, 100%. Well, you're not in Dragonstorm. I'm not going to advocate for it. I'm not going to make an argument. Same for Rain of Filth. We already talked about this. You don't need black mana. We talked about Red Elemental Blast. Really powerful. Not really fully needed. Grim Monolith. It's more. I'll be honest. I've had people talk to me about it. It's like, why are you running Grim Monolith? I said, well, because I can curve really easily into Dream Halls. I run more stack interactions, so I don't mind doing a raw dog Dream Halls on turn 3 with 1 to 2 pieces of backup interaction. That's just me, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As I'm looking at Grim Monolith, though, would this be a smothering type slot? I don't know. I need to think about it.
The answer is yes. Run Smothering Tithe instead.
Hey, I'm gonna think about it. I'm not gonna lie. You making me think about it. Like I'm making myself think about it. If I'm being honest, it's. I wouldn't argue for it. The only thought process that was going through my head is like, oh, it can help cast a birthing pod, but you don't need Grim to help you cast that. I don't like you go land dork land. That's the birthing pod turn 2. You win on turn 3. I don't think you need that. Nah,
yes, sir.
I will say this before we move into these playtest hands. I'm experiencing a high level of gratitude right now because going through your list has really opened to my mind, especially the Smothering Tithe, but just your whole concept and understanding how you were so confident to take this list, literally move off of the best deck, no quotes, the best deck to this list because you knew the meta well enough, especially playing the top deck, to know how would I beat myself. I would break parity. I wouldn't try to outdo my mid deck. I would try to break parity on that, and I think that's phenomenal. That's really cool. And like, dude, like, I'm gonna keep saying it, bro. Like, I was looking at Color Ritual, but it's too good. I'm right there. Hey, y'all hearing it from me. I may take out Grim Island for Smothering Tithe, but I'm gonna merit it. I don't like making emotional decisions.
Approved.
With that being said, I like to flip it when it comes to notable inclusions. I believe we've talked about everything when it comes to your list. Awesome discussion on the Drakes, the Recruiters, the Decays. I'm guessing that is because for the notable opposition agents and other things that are bad for us. I'm noticing, of course, the Tint. We both, once again, to the table, like there's a lot of 1-to-1 switch outs where I'm on Untimely Malfunction, he's on Spellskite. It's not a thing of which is superior low. It's like which is better for the list. Him having another creature is super powerful. We go to the Demonic Consultation. We've talked about being a food chain list. This is a lot more powerful. Food chain, decon for the food chain. Hope the Exile the Squee or whatever not is a powerful turbo line you could take. Culling the Weak versus the Cabal Ritual, notably sack effect, keep things moving. On the Talisman of Curiosity because we want to create the green. Oh, question. Is there a reason that we're choosing to run Talisman of Curiosity with a green blue over maybe like a green black or a green white that's more in line with that Asban color?
Yeah, so I have the green white as like a considering, but I think the green blue is just a little better because of the Flusterstorm and the Swan Song. I think that's enough to actually go for the green blue there.
Understood. Okay, I respect it. So it's kind of like we go back to the days conversation. It's like, no, am I going to have a island on board all the time? No, but can I create a blue? That's a different conversation. I also need double blue for Dream Halls. And so that can be really relevant, where I'm going like Ancient Tomb into Talisman. So I've got 2 and a blue, and maybe I have some other way to produce mana so I could push a Dream Halls turn 2 perhaps, right? So that's where the blue can matter. No, 100%. And can I be honest, like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to talk to a Tiamat pilot who's playing Dream Halls, because there's been so many times where, like, because like I said, the TC community, I'm gonna be honest. You get 4 to 5 mana on turn 2. You about to untap a 5 mana. The first question they ask is, "Hey, bro, you play a Dream Hall next turn?" You gotta have the whole conversation, dude.
Bang!
I have a Badlands and a Scrub land on board. I can't catch it, even if I play my land drop. I can't cast it. So I jokingly say that it's a thing where I think, very hindsight, the need of blue pips to cast Dream Halls, because there aren't any blue rituals per se other than just mana dorks.
We've got Rite of Flame. Where's Rite of the Ocean, bro?
Come on, bro. Who are you talking to?
Hot.
Come on. So, like, outside of that, man, I think all this makes sense. The Academy Rector, all that good stuff. We're on the Worldly Tutor. Like, we can just see that Worldly verse. I'm not on Worldly. I'm on Mystical, so we have that swap out. Or Creature deck. Whereas non-creature, all that makes sense. On the Spell Seeker, this can also be seen as like a swap out for Mystical Tutor, notably because he can pod into Spell Seeker and then pod Spell Seeker into Academy Rector, leveraging Spell Seeker to go get a sack effect. Or
you pod into Spellseeker, you get a Neoform, you sack Spellseeker, you've got Rector out. You just went up 2 parts of the chain.
Oh, fuck yes. And if you have another sack effect on board or in hand, it's over then.
Then boom, win the game. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Exactly right. So this is like when we see this, like you all, when we see this similar to Eternal Witness, why are we running these 3 mana creatures when there's cheaper versions? It helps the game plan. You had to open your mind to the idea of being able to transition from hey, I want to run cheap spells. I'm trying to play cEDH to like, hey, what helps my game plan? And I can still be turbo even if I'm running higher CMC. I have to be intentional with how my mulligans and all the other things go with that. And lastly, we're trying out the Fiend Arsenal, the Squee, everything makes sense. And I like everything I see. We're on the same 56 cards here. Everyone knows these cards, they're boring, whatever not. But I digress, man. Dude, this conversation was phenomenal. I'm so happy I got to talk to you, Caleb, man. Like, you're a genius, dude. You did a very amazing job taking your experience in Teamer Pirates to convert it to a Tiamat list. And the only last thing I want to make sure that we do for the audience is just make sure we do some playtest hands, because they got to see how you start off this list. So
let's do it.
We're going to do some playtest hands down at the bottom. I always love to roll a D8 or a D4 to be able to just, figure out our seat composition, and then we can name out some pods. If you are in the audience, go ahead and just start dropping off some meta decks into our chat so we can have some decks. Drop as many blue farms or Kennons or whatever you not, and we'll pick from those listed. I rolled an 8, so we're going fourth. Let's see. We can say blue farm is going first. We'll say Kennon is going second, and we have an Atali going third. Okay, so we have mid-range, turbo. Okay, let's see a fresh hand. Our first 7 is a Bayou, a Tropical Island, and a Command Tower. Okay, we have 1 tutor being Imperial Seal, 2 counter spells being Flusterstorm and Swan Song, and we have a Noble Hierarch as our 7th card.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this?
I'm going to be honest. For me, this is a mulligan right away. I mean, it has some powerful cards. I like playing the Hierarch turn 1. I like the option of the Imperial Seal turn 2. But the Flusterstorm and Swan are kind of just going to rot the hand, and I don't have enough support to really go into a Rector line.
100%. I hear that. Especially you all just remember, our impact, and we're running few interaction spells because we're not trying to control the table. So this is completely logical. That makes sense to me. Let's go see a second 7. This being Lassotep Quarry, Dragonlord Dramoka, Culling the Weak, Dark Ritual, Mockingbird, Imperial Recruiter, and Worldly Tutor.
No, sir. Where's the colored mana? I mean, it's just not there. So, whoop, straight out.
Yep, we got to go down to 6, but that's no problem. The list mulligans well. Let's keep it moving. Let's go down to a 6, being Arcane Signet, Culling the Weak, Demonic Tutor, Wishclaw Talisman, Mystic Remora, Rhystic Study, and Tear the Peaks.
We are getting unlucky.
Hey, look. Hey, all you need is Lamb, Manival, Academy Rector, and a Lazartep Quarry. You know what I'm saying? Come on. That's all you need. That's 4 cards. That's 4 cards. Come on, that's all we need. So no lands, unfortunately. So I guess we're going down to 5.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go down to a 5. Our 5 is we have a City of Brass, a Boseiju Who Endures, a Mana Confluence, a Felwar Stone, Viscera Seal, Demonic Consultation, and Noble Hierarch on a 5.
Yeah. So as a 5, this is a keep. It's not the best keep I've ever seen, but it's going to be City of Brass, Mana Confluence, Viscera Seer, Demonic Consultation, Noble Hierarch.
Okay.
So we've got that ramp turn 1. We've got Viscera Seer as an optional combo piece to push out turn 2. Or, honestly, with this kind of a mull, if you want a Demonic Consultation for Mystic Remora, it is an option turn 2.
Okay.
So you gotta, I don't know. There's a few choices. It's a tough call, but I think this is going to be a keep at 5.
100%. Notably, we're bottoming the Boseiju and the Felwar Stone. We do have an Atali seat 3, so it's like, oh, will we untap again? But respectfully, we're not a control list. We want the TNK and the Kennan list in seat 1 and 2 to control the Atali, so then we can start to slowly progress our board state. And so I love to see one more draw as well once we lock everything in, and then we'll see one draw. Notably, Topdeck is a birthing pod. So
hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So we are looking at that point where, well, talk to me. What you tell me what you see. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna still be City of Brass into Noble Hierarch, and then turn 2, what I would do is I drop the next land, drop the pod. Sadly, a little slow unless we manage another piece of ramp where we can't pod right away. But we're gonna go up the chain. Basically, what we're gonna hope is that Blue Farm and Kinnan are gonna be responsible. They're gonna be stopping the Atali. So we head toward the long game, and we're just potting up the chain as we can. And then as we're able to get into Rector, we've got the Seer available to us for another sack.
True.
We could Birthing Pod into, the Spell Seeker to go in the Neoform to jump a part of the pod chain.
Oh shit, you're 100%
And so
correct.
it's going to have to be a little bit slower than I normally would want to go, but I think based on the pod, we might be able to make it happen. So.
No, 100%. And I like that mindset of just like, hey, let's just slow and steady. And that's where the pre-politics I talk about a lot in the Table Talk Masterclass. We're just like leveraging pre-politics, not to be annoying and not the... I want to over communicate this to people. Please don't sit there and be like, oh, make sure y'all have interaction with each other. Like, hey, just relax. Like, hey, just communicate. Like, hey, I'm going to mold 5 you all. I'm just going to communicate this. I'm on C4, mold 5. I'm not stopping Atali. I'm going to over communicate that. Please don't look at me. I'm not helping. And then just allowing that to help them be more responsible, because Atali can win his students turn 1 to turn 2, depending on how fast they can get a T-Ogre or whatever rituals out. So, yeah, I think this is fantastic 5. Come on, that was pretty good. With that said,
I mean, the thing about the deck is, right, it has so many creature tutors. You go to a low mulligan, the chance you get a creature tutor and it fixes your problems are pretty high.
I like what I'm seeing, my dude. I like what I'm seeing. So, before we move on, just to over communicate or reiterate, we will be going land noble into land birthing pod, or would you hold off?
Yep.
Okay, and then starting
the plan.
Turn 3, you would just be able to start going up to a 2-drop to a 3-drop, and depending on what you draw moving forward, you literally could win as soon as turn 4 in this instance.
Yes, I think that's what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, because turn 3 would be a 2-drop, turn 3 could be a spell seeker. All right, sounds good to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see a second 7. We're gonna go and roll that D8. It is a 1, so we are going first this time. RNG Gods is good. Let's get some more pods, chat. Let's get some more pods. We're going first on Tiamat, so let's get some more decks. We had last game was Blue Farm, Kennen, and Tali. We got TNT. TNT. We got a rock size, so we're gonna have TNT.
Oh, sneaky Winota.
All right,
who knew they could come back into the meta?
Let's say this. Let's spice it up. All right, I'm gonna throw this your way. You're going first. Rock size going second.
Okay.
Tim the Thras is going. No, we'll let Winota go third, and Tim the Thras goes third. Winota goes fourth. So you got Rogsai, Tim the Thras, and then Winota's going fourth. Okay. So let's check this out. Let's first 7. All right, you going first. We have a Plateau, a Spellskite, a Demonic Tutor, Witchclaw Talisman, Noble Hierarch, Nature's Rhythm, and Fiend Artisan.
Yeah, the lands are not supporting the hand right now, so this one's got to get shipped.
I agree 100%. Let's go see a second 7. We are looking at a Tropical Island, Dragonlord Jamoka, Esper Sentinel, Culling the Weak, Tainted Pack, Hoarding Broodlord, Mystic Remora. I take that back. I don't know. What do you think?
I think I would keep this if I was on a 5 or lower. I think on a second 7, I do ship this hand.
Yeah, because it almost is a hand of 5 because you have 2 dragons in your hand, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. I think it's not quite good enough where I'd want to keep it.
100%. Yeah, I get it. Let's go down to a 6. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Ancient Tomb, Savannah, Verdant Catacombs, Smothering Tithe, Diabolic Intent, Tainted Pact, and Eternal Witness.
Man, this is a tough call. 6. I think there's an argument to keep this hand for a turn 3 Tithe, but I think given the pod composition, I think that the board would end up being too developed where I would be too slow. I think either Rogsai would push a turbo win quite quickly. That would be problematic. Or Winota would land enough Stax pieces that going into the Tithe, I would be very underpowered.
I agree.
So I think I would mulligan the hand.
I feel that. Let's go down another 5. The last 5 was pretty good. Let's see what another 5 is. All right. It is Windswept Heath, Chrome Mox, City of Brass, Viscera, Orcish Bowmasters, Terror of the Peaks, and Elves of Deep Shadow.
Yep. I would take this 5.
Okay. Talk to me.
Again, not an insane 5. City of Brass is an easy keep. I think it probably looks something like City of Brass, Viscera Seer, Orcish Bowmasters, Pro Mox, Elves of Deep Shadow. I think that's what it looks like. As much as I want to keep 2 lands, I think I want to develop earlier, so I'd want to either have the turn 1 OBM available or
for the wheel from the possible Rockside early game, I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly. Rockside loves their turn 1 wheels.
Agreed.
And then the Orcish Bowmasters, it does a good job of controlling the TNT player potentially. Can also stop a few things that Winota is trying to do.
100%.
So yeah, it's not an insanely strong keep. Unfortunately, these mulligans haven't been amazing, but I think it'll still function in the game.
100%, I agree with that. And I want to do a big flowers to you for catching and acknowledging the turn 1 OBM for the play. Like some people may feel, well, do you want to progress the Elves of Deep Shadows first so you can curve out more? This is my mindset when it comes to it. I love to hear yours. With no tutors or like turn 2 game plan other than OBM, getting down the OBM turn 1 when you have a known heavy wheels deck being Rockside, or even just pinging them for 1, 2, or 3 starting as soon as turn 1. Say if Winota drops an Esper, or if TNT drops a fish, being able to ping them to make their Necro ad nauseum worse is phenomenal. So I love your
or even it's as simple as kill the Rog, because it removes their Calling the Weak, it removes their Infernal Plunge, it removes their Diabolic Intent. Like that's actually really valuable as well.
100% agree. Okay, cool. Usually we keep it to 2, but I want to take it to 3 because I would love to see an explosive hand. So let's do one more playtest. How you feel about that?
We'll see how it goes. Let's try it.
All right, we're gonna roll the D8. Give me another. We rolled another 1, so you're going first again. Come on now.
Okay,
all right.
Okay, come on.
Give me another. Give me some more decks, y'all. Let's see some more decks. We have Kefka. Yes, sir. So we have. We got Kefka. What else we got? Let's see. Hashatime.
Oh, the Hash Brown himself.
Okay.
Interesting. We're getting spicy.
And Chatterfang. We dropped about. Hold on. So we recently did have a Chatterfang deck. Top 16. They've been doing well. I would rather want to grab the VV because it's a little bit more known and variable, but I'll let you choose. What would you rather see, a Chatterfang in this pod or a VV in this pod? I'll choose order, but
I think we'll respect the order. Let's go for the Chatterfang.
Okay, let's do a curveball, baby. Let's get it. Yeah. So we'll do you are on seat 1, Kefka is seat 2, Chatterfang is seat 3, and Hashatime is seat 4. Okay? Let's see your first 7. We have Tundra, Talisman of Curiosity, Demonic Consultation, Noble Hierarch, Crop Rotation, Lotho Corrupt Sheriff, and Bladewing the Risen.
You know, I am glad that I'm the one doing mulligans and not you, because you can't seem to find the right order of cards for my deck. So this one gets sent straight away.
All right. Let's see the second 7. All right, second 7. Arid Mesa, Ranger Captain of Aeos, Swan Song, Flusterstorm, Ignoble Hierarch, and Elves of Deep Shadow, and a Morite of the Frost.
Yeah, you found the critical duo of the Swan Song Flusterstorm that I don't really want in my opening hand. So this isn't atrocious, but it's not good either. So I'm happy to send it away.
Yeah, it's almost like having 2 dragons in the hand. You're already on a 5, so you might as well just go see a 6 kind of energy.
Well, yeah, but this is second 7, right? I
think no, I'm saying like with Swan Song and Flusterstorm, we see those.
It feels like you're low.
Right. It feels like I'm looking at a 5 right now. I'm not trying to control the table. Yeah. Let's just go see a 6. I definitely understand that. And plus, we need a second white to cast Rangers, so that's also dead. So, yep, let's keep it going. Let's see a 6. Okay, we have a Command Tower, a Tainted Pact, a Flusterstorm, Gilded Drake, Birds of Paradise, Fiend Artisan, and Kutsil Melamit. Exemplar.
This one's at least interesting. Possibilities of turn 2 Drake, turn 2 Fiend Artisan, turn 2 Tainted. Yeah, but I still don't think it's good enough. I wanna have more mana available to me, and this is, I mean, only 2 sources unless I either Drake for someone else's mana piece or Tainted Pact to find a land. So
no, it's okay.
I'll send it back.
No, I definitely hear you there, especially with whenever I'm in the pod with Kefka, I always over communicate this like, hey, you better be able to win before the Kefka comes down, or you better have a draw engine on board to offset the card loss, because Kefka can and will drain you from cards faster than you can accrue them, depending on the other advantage or synergy pieces they have on board. So let's keep it going. Let's see a 5.
Yep.
All right. Spellskite, Imperial Recruiter, Demonic Tutor, Flusterstorm, Volatile Storm Drake, Crop Rotation, and Cutzel.
You're doing me dirty, brother.
Hey,
Down to
bro,
4.
I promise you, I'm just hitting the deal another hand, bro. I promise you, I want to see you win on turn 2. I want to see it.
It's all
Turn
good.
1.
I'll just do it in the actual games, and then I'll be like, this is my opening hand.
Yes, let's do that. No lands. Want to see a 4?
Yeah.
All right, let's see a 4. All right. Oh, okay. I give it that I take away. Plateau, Gemstone Caverns, Verdant Catacombs, Scolding Tarn, Mystic Remora, Terror of the Peaks, and Birthing Pod. We notably have our Mystic Remora, which is our Mulligan fixer.
The answer is yes. We keep.
All right.
So I think realistically the keep here, I think it's Verdant, Scalding Tarn, Mystic, and Birthing Pod.
I
think that's the move here.
I agree. Yeah. Seems pretty straightforward. Of course, everyone sees the turn 1 Mystic Remora play. Hopefully we draw into some more fast mana to be able to get a turn 2-3 Birthing Pod out. Any other notable things people should know before we see our first card?
No, I don't think so. I think that's really the plan. Being in first seat, I mean, you assume that the Grixis deck is probably going to feed a little bit. Hashiton is no stranger from playing an early, Mystic Remora or some rocks. And then Chatterfang is unlikely to feed, but I think that's okay if we get some other cards from the different players.
100%. Well, let's see that first card. Volatile Storm Drake.
Okay, see, that's fine. I mean, basically, it allows us to, have the ability to pod into something from Drake. If I really want to, I could steal on turn 2. So if, like, I don't know, Kefka does something crazy and lands a turn 1 Kefka, or like there are possibilities where I could try and steal there, but I think that's just something probably like turn 3. I don't think this pod is insanely fast. So I think we're good to kind of sit on fish for at least a little bit, and see how it goes. Oh, and notably, Hashiton sometimes cheats in some bangers. So you could steal something like Consecrated Sphinx, or Nezahal, some big things with that Drake. So that's not bad.
No, you can even take a leveler, dude. I'm just messing with you. Don't.
Yes, take a leveler.
No, I'm messing with you. No, I love this hand, and I'm not gonna lie, I do like seeing the Volatile Storm Drake as well, especially with just you're playing against a Chatterfang. There's a universe where you literally go, all right, well, I'm going to take your Chatterfang because they don't know you have a Birthing Pod in hand. You convert that into playing Birthing Pod the following turn and instantly convert that into a win. And it's
really. So you go Drake into you can go into your Ranger Captain, you can get your sacrifice creature, and then you pod into your
Spell Seeker
from there
or something. Or no, not the Spell Seeker. Or no, you'll go straight. Oh, tell me about what would you? So if you take the Chatterfang, which is a 3-drop, what would be your thought process? Go straight.
Oh, sure. If I take Chatterfang, I probably would go into Rector and then have the pod as a sacrifice outlet, assuming it can't be removed. But yeah, you got to keep in mind, like, you could take a 2-drop if it's available. So like you just gotta look at the board and see if there's one there. If you want to go into Ranger Captain, like you can just look at what seems justifiable for your pod effect.
100%. I resonate with that. All right. Well, with that said, man, Caleb, dude, you rock. Thank you for this amazing discussion. I am an avid Tiamat pilot, and I know all the other Tiamat pilots are excited as well to see 2 Tiamat Juggernauts just poke at it and just like, dude, I love that second year list. I love that second year list, bro. Like, and just being able to come together and see something amazing. It's very seldomly that first an off meta brew can be turned into a meta buster brew in so many different ways, as well as having just 2 awesome pilots just talk about it. And I'm just glad I was able to get you on here, and you thank you for making time, brother. So any closing remarks you like to share with the people? Do you do any social media? You got any lists you're working on? Any spice you want to share with the folks?
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate your time. This has been a great conversation. It's had me think about a lot of different things. I think the D-Grid and the City of Traders are appealing to me to the most right now. So I'll have to probably play test those soon. In terms of socials, not huge on socials, but I do actually paint Magic the Gathering altars. So if you want to check out my altars page, Dragonborn Altars on Instagram. You can check out some of my custom painted stuff on there. But yeah, otherwise you'll see me out there on the Topdeck circuit, especially playing the monthlies at Mana Vault, and then traveling for a few other events during the year. So hope to see you at the tabletops.
100%. And in addition to hearing that, we will have that link in the bio. So if you all are looking for some painted altars, please check out the link in the bio to support our brother Caleb. But with that said, y'all know what I got to say. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora, starting off with our TC community. I've been referencing amazing TC pilots and amazing brewers throughout the entire deck tech. So if you're interested to play with these dudes or poke their brain at how they're able to make their Meta Buster brews, check out the TC community. We do amazing things like brew amazing decks, talk about spoilers, as well as jam awesome cEDH games. With that said, if you want some extra perks like early releases and exclusive content, shoutouts on our streams and YouTube videos, as well as TC merch discount codes, check out the Thunder Legion Patreon community. This is amazing music, a community of people who want to financially support me to help me keep the lights on. But with that said, I have to give a humongous shout out to our Is a Tier patrons, Ziggy and the Prater, as well as our Mono Red Tier patrons, Incognito, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, and B-Rad. But with that being said, y'all be amazing. We will see you shortly for this Tiamat gameplay. Peace.